Morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Brian Craig. If you're new here, this is the Steve Kane Radio Show. It's our top of the hour break. We're live 6 until 9 a.m. Eastern time every morning. And this is the most pro Donald Trump radio show anywhere. That's a fact. I promise you. Here we go. Here we go.
103.9 FM and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network. You are listening to South Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show.
Hey, Terry. Hey, Neil.
Free, dial 1-888.
That's right. That's the number. Yes. Welcome, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. I'm very excited. I yesterday got my second haircut since the barbershops opened. Oh, man, welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, and let me double-check the date. Yes, the 16th of June, 2020. So much happening, so much going on. My name is Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Welcome back, one and all, to the program. A great many things to talk about. We're going to talk about this attempted poisoning of police officers at the Shake Shack. We're going to talk about the Million-Man Trump rally, baby, in Tulsa, which I have 2 tickets for. And, yeah. I mean, this Million-Man rally. By the way, do the Trump ladies mind us calling it the Million-Man rally? I can't say the million-person rally. It just doesn't have the same ring to it. Women are part of humanity, so, okay? This Million-Man rally, this record-breaking in the history of the human race, the largest rally in the history of rallies. How frightening this must be to the left, that they're being just totally decimated in this election. That President Trump is so popular, and we're almost 2 weeks out from that rally, right? It's not this weekend, it's the following weekend. It could be 1.5 million, even 2 million. Now, I want to tell you this. I cannot make it to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'll be watching the rally, I don't know, probably on YouTube. And even though this is a historic rally, do you think CNN and MSNBC will carry it? What about even the Fox News channel? It's even iffy with Fox News channel, but I'll be watching it. This is just an amazing thing. And this is what I did yesterday. And I think everyone should not only do this that's on the Trump train, but you should encourage all your friends and family to do it too. There's all these fake polls out there. There was a poll, I was talking about this on my podcast last night. There was a poll, headline on Drudge, shock poll. Biden up, was it 13 points? It was double digits. Stupid. I mean, it's absurd to even suggest such a thing. The number of requests for tickets for the Tulsa Trump rally is a poll. It's a poll that all of us can participate in by requesting tickets. I can't make it to Tulsa, Oklahoma for the rally. I got to be at work in the morning. But I've got tickets for it. So I'm counted among the 1 million plus that have requested tickets. So each and every one of you out there, do the same thing. Request tickets to the Tulsa rally. It's the latest poll. Let's try to get that number 2 million. 2 million. We should easily be able to get 2 million. It made 1 million on its own. If every radio talk show host, if every blogger and vlogger and everybody else that's on the Trump train started asking all of their friends, followers, listeners, subscribers, Facebook friends, Twitter followers, Instagram followers to request tickets, we could get that number to 2 million easily. And that is a poll. And it sends a message. I've got my 2 tickets. That's right. They're on my phone. It's free. They're free. You don't have to pay for them. They're completely free. I put a link on my Twitter, but you could just Google tickets Tulsa Trump rally. It'll come right up. Get your tickets. Let's get that number up as high as we can and send a message that these polls are total BS and that the Trump train is longer than ever. There's more cars on the Trump train than ever. I don't care what Tucker Carlson said about Black Lives Matter being more popular than Trump. I don't believe that. But yeah, I'm going to be pushing this a lot the next couple of weeks. I just thought of this last night during my podcast. So yeah, request tickets. Everybody in this audience, get everyone in your family to do it. It's free, so it costs you nothing. Let's get the number up as high as possible. Spread it on Twitter, spread it on Instagram, spread it on Facebook, spread it on Parler, spread it on YouTube. Even those of you that are in the sewer of the internet, the dark web of Periscope, get it up on Periscope. Let's get everyone on the Trump train to request a ticket. Let's get that number up as high as we possibly can. All right, it's crazy numbers, but I think it can be done. We're already at 1 million without any effort. Oh man, I tell you. I was just watching a story about the SWAT team in Hollandale. You know, the vice mayor of Hollandale, I don't follow too much about Hollandale. Hollandale is a city in the southern end of Broward County. I have to drive through it on occasion. I don't spend too much time about thinking about Hollandale. Neil Rogers had a great song about Hollandale. Was it a take on, was it Wasting Away in Hollandale? What was the parody that Neil Rogers used to play about Hollandale? I forget what it is. But anyway, the police chief and the vice mayor and others took a knee with activists in front of the police station. You may have seen the story. It's made national and international headlines. And the SWAT team resigned in protest, which I'm really surprised about. SWAT team, they're the elite of the police force. They are very well paid, and those are not easy jobs to get. And they resigned in protest. I'm a little shocked about that. And I was watching the local news about it this morning, and they interviewed the vice mayor of Hollandale, who took a knee with the police chief, has been a leading advocate on the city government of Hollandale against the police. The vice mayor that took a knee, that's taking issue with the SWAT team, is a 22-year-old girl. 22-year-old girl. What the heck is a 22-year-old kid doing being vice mayor of anything? It's amazing. What does a 22-year-old know about anything? It's pretty shocking to me that we have There was an incident with the SWAT team in Hollandale in 2014 where they burst into a guy's house. So goes the story. He was unarmed in his underwear, and they shot him. He had crack in the house. And this has been an issue that the 22-year-old vice mayor has taken issue with over the years. She was a 16-year-old kid when this happened. You know, there's something to be, and I know people that are in their 20s, and the vice mayor would get angry at this, at this kind of discussion. When I was younger, when I was a teenager, I used to watch all these youth panel shows on TV. There used to be one on cable access. I don't live in Broward County anymore, but there used to be this, it may even still be on. A Sun Sentinel columnist used to have this teen panel that was on cable access. I used to watch it, and it would be teenagers talking about the issues, and I was all into it. I'd watch it. I was a teenager. And then I grew up, and I realized that kids are kids, and you're really not an adult until you're at least 35 years old, maybe 40 years old. Certainly not until you have kids and are paying for your own cell phone and car insurance and health insurance and rent and mortgage and all of that. And I know a lot of young people, they get upset at this because they don't understand. I mean, at what age does your brain even stop finally developing to an adult stage? Is it around 20, 25? So I was a little shocked that there's a 22-year-old kid who's the vice mayor of Hollandale, and the SWAT team are taking issue with this. I think the SWAT team, I will say this, I disagree with the resignation by the SWAT team. I think they could have handled this better and in a more sophisticated way. The taking of a knee by police officers is viewed by many as a surrender and an admission of some type of guilt. You know, the thing about, yes, you're right, Joseph Diaz. Let's see here. Let's just do that. Yes. The thing about this taking a knee, there was an incident. I played the audio of this, and we talked about this, I think, on Friday's show. There was an incident where some New York City police officers with a New York City lieutenant took a knee with protesters in New York. Lieutenant who had a fear for his officers. They were outnumbered and surrounded for him, not just himself, but for his officers. And this is something that's been going on around the country, this taking a knee. Has police officers, I'll throw this out, police officers taking knees, has it slowed down anything? Has it made things better? You know, there's a lot of tension between police officers and certain members of the black community, and I understand that. You know, the incident in Atlanta we talked about all day yesterday, and of course what happened to George Floyd. I understand all these things, but you know, the George Floyd case, we still do not know what that was all about. Because of the high-profile nature of the case and the craziness that has happened in America after the murder of George Floyd, we really don't know what that was about. Was it about police work? There's been so much talk by people that knew the officer and knew George Floyd that there was a personal beef between the two. You know, it may have zero to do with police work. You know, and taking a knee is being viewed by many, right, including the SWAT team that resigned in Hollandale. It's being viewed as an admission that they are somehow guilty of something. And, you know, what the left are doing here, and I think it's obvious, this is an election year tactic. President Trump has done very well with African American voters. The Democrats are trying to get the black vote back, and they're organizing a lot of these things. That doesn't mean that every little incident that happens here and there is organized by the Democrats. Once they start this, local people start doing it on their own and don't realize what's going on. Now listen, I'm looking at the clock. I want to take this break on time because there's a lot of groupthink going on here, and groupthink can be a little misleading as to what's really going on. So let's take our first break. We'll get back and talk about all this stuff. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. That's right, on the radio since 1977. We'll be right back.
It's summertime, and that means backyard barbecues and hanging out by
Steve
the
Kane
pool.
Show.
With Father's Day right around the corner, get Dad the gift
Hey, Mike.
all dads will love. A new grill from Ace Hardware Deerfield or Beach Ace Hardware in Lauderdale by the Sea. They are your grilling headquarters. They have an incredible selection on all the top brands like Weber and Traeger, and the best deals around on every type of grill there is. Gas grills, charcoal grills, portable grills, and more. Free assembly and delivery is available too. Ace Hardware Deerfield is just south of Hillsboro. On the west
Problem?
side of
I just want to make sure that the ladies on this one.
Oh, yeah. I always check.
The Steve Kane Show, and happy Father's Day.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
If you suffer from excruciating back pain or sciatica, pay careful attention to what I'm about to tell you.
That's Rich
According
Allen.
to a
He's the
study in
board op.
Medical
He's on the
Journal
other side of the
Spine, back surgeries
building.
to alleviate back pain frequently backfire, leaving the patient in more pain than before they had the surgery. A second study from the University of Cincinnati
I've known him
College
for
of
almost
Medicine
30 years.
provides clear evidence
Crazy,
that
isn't it?
74% of surgeries for back pain fail. But there is an end to your suffering. There's a solution to your problem waiting for you with Dr. Troy Lemaski. Dr. Troy Lemaski is my personal chiropractor, and if the name sounds familiar, it should. He's the brother of
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Janae Lemaski. Dr. Troy specializes in the elimination of back pain, sciatica, joint pain. He does it quickly, easily, and without surgery or pain medication. While he can help you with your back and neck pain, Dr. Troy also provides treatment for the hips, the
Make sure you
shoulders,
subscribe
the
if you're not
knees,
subscribed. If
even
you
a
are
car
new
accident,
here,
any type of
this is the
injury.
most
If
pro-Donald Trump
pain
radio show
won't
in the
go
world.
away,
No
well,
doubt about
you
it.
wanna get back to your
But,
old self, you wanna
if you
call
don't like
Dr.
Trump, that's
Troy.
okay.
His number 954.
You'll learn to love him if you
3036.
subscribe and watch it.
That's
You'll come around.
463-3036. Online at drtroylamaski.com. Tell him that Steve Kane sent you.
Listen to the Steve King Show on iHeartRadio.
All right, welcome back. My name's Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show. Let's go to Mike in Boca. Mike in Boca, good morning.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Good, I'm 49 now. I turned 49 last Thursday. It's good to be
Oh.
3 days out of the president. We both had a birthday together, basically.
Well, happy birthday. Yeah, I know. I'm 49 as well. And I can remember when my grandmother was 49 years old, and she's been dead for a long time. So, 49 is not what it used to be. It's not old anymore. It's the new 25.
I know about the kneeling. It depends on the cop. I personally don't like it. I like Officer Sadler. He's an FHP, actually Georgia State Trooper. And he said, I only kneel for God. I don't know if you saw that story or not. But
Yeah, I'm not kneeling for anyone. I'm not kneeling for anyone.
I have to agree with that one cop. I kneel for God. Does it work? No, it doesn't work because when the Atlanta shooting happened, the mayor came out. She did what she did, and the mob didn't care. They still burned down the windows. So
Yeah.
people who are lawful, who are protesting lawfully, don't do anything bad. The bad people are going to do something bad no matter what happens.
Well, a lot of this taking of the knee, it's hard to tell who's who. But like, for example, in Hollandale, I saw the police chief, who's a lady police chief. I don't know anything about the police chief, but it doesn't say, are there any men who run police departments anymore? Atlanta, Seattle, Hollandale?
I think they're all 49110.
491, what's that mean?
They're very small women. I'm just saying. If you look at the like these little, it's scary. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of sarcastic, but it's true. I mean, it's a little crazy.
Well, there used to be height requirements and things for police officers. I come from a family with many police officers in it, even though I did not become one myself. And I had a cousin, much older than I. He had a difficult time becoming a police officer because of the height requirements. And then, of course, they did away with certain requirements and things, and he was able to be. And he was a good cop. But to me, the biggest deterrent to crime are huge cops, like bouncers. That's a big crime deterrent.
Out there, I saw a lot of them during the riots. I saw a lot of big boys, and they were all different colors. And but when you see the chief, I don't care if it's a man or woman, but my God, they're all like, I'm looking at them and I said, really?
Well, now let me tell you, there are women. I was over at Wings Plus, and a woman police officer came in, and I would not have messed with this woman. I mean, she looks like she's working out for 3 hours a day, and she's out there, and yeah, and then there are some police officers, and this goes for men too. Some of the male police officers with the beer belly, So yeah, there doesn't seem to be the same amount of physical conditioning among officers that there used to be.
Yeah. Some of the guys look like Chief Wiggins from The Simpsons. They all with pop bellies. I'm like, how they run after someone?
Yeah. I mean, I saw once when I was in high school in Fort Lauderdale, there was a shoplifter running out of a Publix in Fort Lauderdale, and they outran the cop. The cop just got tired and had to stop and catch his breath, and they kept running. So there's out of shape men that are police officers too. That that happens. But but this thing in Hollandale, what is the purpose of taking a knee in Hollandale? Hollandale is it's a yeah. All right, Mike. Happy birthday to you. All right, take care. Yeah, this is the thing about taking the knee in Hollandale. Okay. If you're in Broward County, you know Hollandale. If you're even across the county line in Dade County, you probably don't know Hollandale. It's a tiny little town with a few thousand people, in a tiny little town that most of us drive through just on the way to, I-95 from somewhere. What happened that would result in an officer taking a knee in Hollandale? There's certain times when things happen. For example, what we were talking about yesterday in Atlanta. It would be appropriate in Atlanta for the police chief to take part in something involving the death of the guy at the Wendy's. I mean, that would be Brooks, right? Hollandale, nothing happened in Hollandale. I know they have some incident that happened 6 years ago when the vice mayor was a 16-year-old teenage girl, but there hasn't been an incident recently. So at this point, in my opinion, for the police chief to take a knee today in the city of Hollandale is an admission that there's something wrong with all of policing. Police officers, this isn't new. Police officers are dealing with people at the worst time in their life, not the officer's life necessarily, but the person's life. And anytime there are firearms involved and there's arrest and things like this, there's going to be violent incidents. Some of them are justified, some of them are not. I agree that George Floyd was murdered and the cops should go to prison. I agree. I did a whole show on this yesterday, so I'm not going to do it again today. But the shooting at the Wendy's was wrong. There was no need for that type of force. The weapon should not have been discharged. I don't want to go through all that again. If you want to call on it, you're welcome. But, my position I made kind of clear yesterday, I think, on the program. But how many officers are out there? I saw 3 on my way into the radio studio this morning from various police departments, driving all over the place. I don't know if they're going to work or on patrol. I don't know. But, so you're going to take 2 guys and you're going to indict an entire profession? And, this is such an interesting thing because what does the knee and all of this do? It stereotypes police officers as being what the officer in the George Floyd case was, or the jerk in Atlanta Friday night, okay? Liberals, that's stereotyping, which is something that you are supposed to be against as liberals, right? All right, our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE-1. Take another call or two. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Yeah, Brian, you keep on saying Hollandale. It's Holland.
Whatever. Does it matter? Who cares? I mean, it's Hollandale. Yeah, I know. Well, if that's the biggest thing you got on me, I'm doing pretty well here.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Had a previous record for being having a temper with people, and the other one, the guy at the beginning, he was the nice guy.
Yeah.
What I wanted to tell.
Oh, okay. I didn't, Oh my gosh. Hallandale. Who cares? It's Hollandale. Does anybody care about? Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Sometimes people just wait. They're out there by the rig just waiting for one little thing. I think I'm doing pretty. The stereotyping that's going on by police officers, pretty scary thing. But I'll tell you, to our listeners here in Broward County is almost lost. I don't live in Broward County anymore. I grew up in Broward County, grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and I love Fort Lauderdale. But Broward County politically is lost. I was watching the local news yesterday and picked up on this story that there's a petition to rename Broward County because the county is named after someone who they have deemed a racist. He was a governor, the governor of Florida in 1905. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte Broward. And this is very significant because I've never heard of Napoleon Bonaparte Broward before. Have any of you heard of Napoleon Broward before? Never heard of him. I grew up in Broward County. I went to school in Broward County, well, from 8th through 12th grade, but I consider myself having grown up in Broward County. Spent A lot of my life at Fort Lauderdale, I'll tell you that. And my mother still lives in Fort Lauderdale and down there all the time. Never heard of the guy. Never learned anything about him. They don't teach you about Florida history in Florida schools, apparently. But they want to rename the county. I'm going to read through some of the petition after the break. And it's just very strange, very bizarre, and it's really a testament to how good things are that people have so much time on their hands. Let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. I want to go into this just a little bit with the name change in Broward County because, you know, there's a major movement going on nationwide by the Democrats. And it's a very devious thing that the Democrats are doing throughout this country. What's going on with the discussion of renaming Broward County is part of what's going on with taking down the monuments around the country. And we'll tell you what that's all about when we get back. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll take a break and be back. Don't go anywhere.
Steve Kane, I'm sitting here with my good friend and my attorney, Barry Siegel of the Siegel Law Group. Barry, you offer a service called elder law. And since I'm getting up there in years, I'd like to find out exactly what that is and when and if I need it.
Sure, Steve. Elder law, think of it as asset protection. Now, as we age and get into our retirement years, the number one concern or threat to our assets is the cost of long-term care. Care either at home, in an assisted living facility, or in a nursing home can be very, very expensive. And it can eat away at your assets. It can even deplete your assets to nothing. Imagine if you lose all your assets, you have to go into a facility and your spouse at home has nothing left. Or you may end up not having any assets left to leave to your loved ones. So with elder law, we are able to look at
I don't buy that. That's all BS.
To you or your spouse, such as Medicaid or veteran
That's
benefits.
black helicopter
And
paranoia.
even if you don't think that you're eligible for these benefits, you'd be surprised. That's what elder law attorneys do, is we help people who may not be eligible at this point become eligible so that they can protect their assets for themselves, their spouse, and their loved ones.
Well, it sounds like a really great idea. I suggest you call my attorney, Barry Siegel, and he will be glad to set up an appointment and explain everything to you in even more detail. His number, toll free, 1-855-FLA-3782. Mention that you heard it on the Steve Kane Show.
Attention seniors over the age of 65. In this unsettling time due to COVID-19, if you have recently lost your job or been forced into retirement and want to learn about all of your Medicare health insurance options, call Debbie and her team at I Will Advisors, 954-753-8080 for a free review of your existing health insurance plan and to receive a free no-obligation education on all of your Medicare options. I Will Advisors are carrier neutral, which means they don't just represent one insurance carrier, they represent all major national carriers and will guide you through the confusing process to find the right plan for your particular needs. Free of charge. Call Debbie and her team right now. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. So there's an online petition now that has, as I speak to you, 1,211 signatures on it to rename Broward County because it was named after a governor they said was racist, which I'll get into in a bit. There's a big movement nationwide about removing symbols, right, which are mostly statues, or renaming Broward County, or taking down this flag from here or there. The big picture with all of this, now most people that are involved don't know what is going on and how they're being manipulated, including the people behind this petition to rename Broward County. They don't understand, what's going on here. The governor they say was racist, Governor Napoleon Broward, that Broward County was named after, Democrat. Every statue they've taken down, Democrat. The Democrat Party, now you know that listen to this show because you're informed. I talk about this all the time. The Democrat Party was the party of slavery. The entire Confederate government was a Democrat government. The Ku Klux Klan was founded by Democrats. Every black man in America that was lynched by a Democrat. And I'm talking about the era of the Klan lynchings. Every black man that was lynched by a Klansman was a Republican. Even Martin Luther King himself was a Republican until a Democrat did something to him that caused him, for his basic survival, to become a Democrat, which I'll tell you about if maybe. I don't want to get distracted too much about what's going on in Broward County. What the Democrat Party is doing with all of the renaming Broward, taking down the monuments and all these things, it serves two purposes. First and foremost, because liberals are all about immediate pleasure and gratification. It's an election era tactic to get black people angry to vote and to get them to vote Democrat. Because they're implying every time they take down a Confederate statue or make a move to rename Broward, they imply that these are Republicans. These are all Democrats. It's all Democrats, which is very important to this. So the first purpose, there's two purposes. The first purpose, the Democrats are trying to give blacks a reason to turn out and vote Democrat, they think, by doing this. And they're going to have it's going to be effective to a certain extent. The other thing, which is more long-term, is this. The Democrats, when they take down these statues, in fact, the Governor Broward, they used to have a statue of him at the Broward County Commission building. They took it down last year. What they're doing is taking down monuments to these people to rewrite history. They do not want people to know that it was the Democrats who did all of these terrible racist things. That the Republicans was an abolitionist party is why it was formed. It was the Democrats, like Franklin Roosevelt, who opposed, remember this, Roosevelt, FDR, opposed federal anti-lynching legislation because the guys doing the lynching were his constituents, and he was afraid he'd lose the Southern vote. The blacks in the South were Republicans. Go on YouTube right now and look at President Kennedy arriving in Dallas at the airport and driving through Dallas. You'll see two things once I tell you that you'll see American flags and Confederate flags. President Kennedy went to Dallas that day to get that Southern vote that Lyndon Johnson promised him for his re-election. Look at how many Confederate flags you will see. Now, let me read. This is the petition to rename Broward County. And, I'm not going to give the people behind the petition a hard time because I don't think they have a big picture understanding here. But here's the petition. It's on change.org. And I'll tell you another thing, too. There's petitions for everything now. These petitions are meaningless. Back in the day, before change.org was around, before the internet, petitions meant something. Because petitions, you had to go knocking on doors. Or 4th of July, you'd go to the park where they were doing fireworks and you'd get people's signatures. Online petitions take no effort. You get, you go on social media, put it there, people write. They may not even be residents. They're meaningless. But, they get news coverage when they're liberal. Okay, so here's the petition. Rename Broward County. Broward County is named after Napoleon Bonaparte Broward. Broward was the 19th governor of Florida, but he was also a noted racist. He was governor in 1905. He was a Democrat governor in the post-Civil War era. I've got news for you. Every Democrat was a segregationist in 1905. Okay? I don't know much about Napoleon Broward's family, But there's a pretty good chance that his family, or his wife's family, and his associates were part of the Confederate States of America. Every Democrat was a racist then. Every Democrat was a segregationist then. There were Civil War veterans that were still alive back then. He was a noted racist, segregationist, and an arms smuggler. In 2017, his statue was removed from the Broward County Courthouse because of his reprehensible views on race. Let's finish the job and erase his name from the county altogether. You don't want to erase your history. I've been to multiple places here in Florida over the years that are his old buildings that have been repurposed, and they still have over the bathroom colored and white. Have you ever seen that? You don't want to take those down. People need to know that this used to be a segregated place. Now, this is the petition. For more than 400 years, this country is tolerated, and this country is not 400 years old. The United States was founded in 1776. July 4th, Independence Day, next month, right around the corner, the United States will not be 400 years old, but 244 years old. Okay? For more than 400 years, this country has tolerated, even perpetrated racism. In light of the recent murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many others, citizens from around the country have decided that enough is enough. Broward County is a minority-majority county, with many of its residents either hailing from or having roots in Latin America, the Caribbean, and various diverse regions around the globe. If many of the residents of Broward County knew the true history of its namesake, I'm sure they would be horrified and ashamed. One of Broward's other notable endeavors was the draining of the Everglades. He viewed the Everglades as useless swampland and didn't understand its importance to local wildlife, water flow, and water quality in South Florida. In recent years, various organizations, including the EPA and National Wildlife Federation, have advocated for restoring the Everglades to its previous state to remedy the damage that has been done to the environment as a result of his drainage programs of 115 years ago. What the hell did he know about water tables and drainage? Because he violated current EPA guidelines in 1905? One of the difficulties of changing the name of a county is rebranding. Nearby Lake Worth changed its name last year to Lake Worth Beach. The name change was made in order to attract more tourists. And I think to trick more tourists. Who wants to go to Lake Worth? You don't want to go to Lake Worth. You don't want to go to Lake Worth. Best beach in Florida, Fort Lauderdale Beach. Anyway, let's see here. Surely racial justice and equality are just as, if not more important than attracting more visitors and economic activity to the area. Any inconvenience that the name change would cause would be more than offset by the fact that residents would be assured that the current administration has a zero-tolerance policy for racism. Now, this is the person who wrote the petition. The desire for change is personal for me. And it says here, the picture from the petition was taken in downtown Fort Lauderdale on the day that I proposed to my wife. As an African-American man, I'd love to be able to tell our future children that Fort Lauderdale is an area that does not tolerate racism and is instead a shining example for the rest of the nation and world to follow. Hoping for change, praying for change, and marching for change are all good things, but at some point we must be willing to take action. The time for action is now. Racism and segregation may have been reflective of the past, but it certainly doesn't have to define Broward County's present and future. Let's rename Broward County for something that's more reflective of the area's Native American roots or of the current vibrant and diverse community that Broward has become. And there's talk of renaming Broward County Fort Lauderdale County. And I'm sure that if you go back to Lauderdale, who was it Captain Lauderdale or something that established the fort, I'm sure they could find that he did something to the Indians, because the Indians were a bit of a problem for the early settlers of Florida, the Seminole Nation. So the guy that founded Fort Lauderdale from the U.S. Army probably was involved in killing some Indians during the Indian Wars, the Seminole Wars. So then where are you going to be? You know, what are you going to name everything after who then? Oh my goodness. You know, I did some reading last night just on Wikipedia, and I put this on Twitter too, of Governor Broward, okay, who was a Democrat, lifelong Democrat. One of the reasons they want to rename the county beyond racism is that he began the drainage of the Everglades. Most of us live in areas that used to be the Florida Everglades in Florida. Most of us do, right? Most of our homes used to be swampland in Florida. But I was reading up about this guy, and it was a very interesting thing. Governor Brown. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll go to the phones in a moment. The draining of the Everglades was for the agricultural businesses here in Florida. I did some reading on this last night. It's all on Wikipedia. That's where I got this from. And it was very interesting. He ran for governor, and he was an outsider with the backing of farmers. And Henry Flagler of the railroad was controlling who was getting elected. And Flagler was against him. And the drainage of the Everglades was for the agricultural businesses of Florida. And the draining of the Everglades is why Florida became the citrus capital of the world with Florida oranges. So Florida oranges became an international thing because of this guy. Now, so far as his racism and segregation, he was a Democrat in 1905. Of course he was a racist and a segregationist. He was a Democrat in 1905. They all were. So anything that has ever been named after a Democrat prior to Obama, you are going to find connections to Southern racists. Look at Biden. What about Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton was governor of Arkansas. It doesn't get any more Confederate than that. You don't think Bill Clinton, who was governor twice and attorney general of Arkansas, had connections to segregationists like Biden? Of course he did. Jimmy Carter was the governor of Georgia. Doesn't get more Confederate than that either. You don't think Jimmy Carter, coming up through the Democrat Party in Georgia, had connections to people that were involved in lynching and segregationists? Of course he did. And you know what even Obama himself did through the choice of his vice president. Look at all this stuff coming out about Biden. Every Democrat has connections. Harry Truman was in the Klan. What about Lyndon Johnson? Lyndon Johnson was from Texas. He was opposed to, come on. Come on. He came up through the ranks through segregation. There is not a Democrat. I mean, you're going to have to rename the Johnson Space Center. In Florida, if you want to rename Broward County, you're going to have to rename the Kennedy Space Center. I'm wearing a SpaceX shirt right now, right? SpaceX just took off from Kennedy Space Center. Kennedy was down there being greeted with Confederate flags in Dallas on the day that his life was taken by Lee Harvey Oswald. So are we going to rename Kennedy Space Center because he made deals with Southern Democrats who were involved in segregation? Same goes for the Johnson Space Center. What are we going to rename every? I'm sorry that the Democrat Party is the party of racism, slavery, and segregation, and that's their history. You want to rename everything ever named after a Democrat and wipe out that history? Of course they do, because they don't want you to know about the history of the Democrat Party. That's why. Look, right now, the leader of the Democrat Party is Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. Her father put up a statue when he was mayor of Baltimore of General Lee and some other Confederate generals as well. That's Nancy Pelosi's father. Should she be Speaker of the House since her father had such connections? Come on. You know, and the problem with when you have a 22-year-old vice mayor and you have young people, they don't know their history. You know, they're talking here a lot about the immigrants that have, we have immigrants in Broward that are the majority of the county. They don't know American history because either they or their parents are not from here, or their grandparents. So they're Americans, like Melania, but Melania doesn't even know and understand American history and American culture and why things are the way they are. So if you have a huge immigrant community in Broward County, like they're saying in the petition, they don't know any of these things I'm telling you, because they just don't have the experience through their family or their own life experience to know such things. Every Democrat president has a connection to segregationists, even Obama through Biden. Biden brought up by segregationists. Remember, this came out by Kamala Harris. You don't have Republicans with these connections, it's all Democrats. So if you're taking issue with these things, liberals, ask yourself, why is it that the Democrat Party has all these connections, even Obama through Biden? Remember, Kamala Harris told us that Joe Biden was opposed to busing and Joe Biden was opposed to integration, and he came up through the ranks being groomed by and taken under the wing by segregationist senators. Kamala Harris told us that, and that was the vice president for our first African-American president, Barack Obama. Are you not going to name things after Barack Obama because he picked Joe Biden, who came up through the backing of segregationists to oppose busing? How far are you going to take this? There are streets named after Barack Obama. There are schools and everything else named after Barack Obama. But like this, you're judging this governor from 1905 based on the standards of today. What about Obama with his connections to Biden? Where does this 6 degrees of separation take us? But it always takes us back to Democrats. Democrats are the party of segregation, racism, opposed to busing, opposed to integration. Even these incidents with police, Minneapolis, Democrat town, Atlanta, Democrat town. Right? These all are happening. New York, where a lot of these incidents happen, Democrat town. Why are these police incidents happening in Democrat town? Rice, terrible incident with Rice. Democrat town. So, yeah, they want to change the name of everything so you don't know what the Democrat Party is all about. If you're on hold, don't go anywhere. We'll take our last break of the first hour. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back.
Stop paying an outrageous fortune for your tires. Go easy on your budget and buy your tires at Friendly Tire in Margate, where they have all the major brands like Goodyear and Firestone at discount prices that
Steve Kane Show.
absolutely can't be beaten. Steve Kane's tires for his Toyota van at the other shops, $175
Hello?
a tire.
Hello?
At Friendly Tire, just $75 a tire. That's a $100 savings per tire. Tires for my daughter Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire. These prices are out the door and on the road. Free mounting and balancing and no added charges. Friendly Tire have a great selection of good used tires too, starting at just $30 for most cars. Call
Steve
my
Kane Show.
Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire. Tell him what you drive and he will give you a great low price right over the phone at 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
This is Lori Kane, and I want to tell you about
Steve
Brighton
Kane Show.
Dental Care. I just had a lot of work done, and I avoided
Hello.
going to the dentist for a lot of years because I was afraid of the cost. But I went to Brighton Dental for my free consultation, which, by the way, he offers to all Steve Kane listeners. I had 2 cavities. I needed a crown on top and a crown on the bottom. If I were a horse, they would have put me down. So I scheduled my appointment for the next Saturday because Brighton Dental has Saturday appointments available, and they saved me a ton of money. And I will be a patient for life. Don't let cost stop you from taking care of your teeth. Brighton Dental gives Steve Kane listeners incredible discounts on all dental procedures, just like they gave me. Prices are so reasonable, you don't have to worry about the cost. So call Brighton Dental today at 954-922-4633. That's 954-922-4633. You can visit them at brightondental.com and tell them Lori Kane sent you.
95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 14.
I do. Is my hair, is there cat hair all over my shirt? I have a bunch of cats.
Florida Money Talk Network. Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WW.
Welcome back, everyone. Yes, they're telling me on YouTube Live that my shirt has cat hair on it. That is probably very true because I have multiple cats. They are everywhere, crawling all over me all the time and everything, even when I'm at home in the morning doing my show prep. Welcome back. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show. Our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-KANE, 1-888-465-2631. Let's go to Richie the bus driver. Hey, Richie.
Good morning. I'm ready to attack you because, I want to throw something at you. Yesterday, you pushed a false narrative, total false narrative. A black man has been killed for falling asleep in a line of Wendy's because he was drinking, and that's not why he was killed. So you spent three, and he was killed because he attacked two police officers.
Uh-huh.
To the point where one police officer shot him, and now it's going to be up to a jury. But the narrative has been by the Democratic Party that police are against black people in this country, and it's not factually backed up at all. But it's a feeling that the black community has, and it's also a feeling of white guilt in this country that we're going to go after all the cops all over the United States because a couple of black men were shot. One was killed. Everyone agrees it was a murder, but that's not all the police department. I also saw a film where a police officer punched this white guy in the face.
Yeah.
A racial slur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thugs out there, the cops
Yeah, the first officer even had him drive his vehicle to park it. The second officer, that is the one who shot him, I believe, escalated everything. I mean, I spent 3 hours talking about this yesterday. I guess I got under your skin.
Yeah, you did, because I went into a DUI checkpoint, okay, and I was drunk as hell. And you know what they told me? Pull a car over there and get out of the car.
Listen, when I was about 19, 20 years old, not even old enough to drink, okay, I shouldn't. This is really bad. I was like 19, 20 years old. And I was out with my friends after work drinking Corona, okay? And we had the Coronas. We didn't have a trash can, so we put them on the floor of the car. I was driving home. There was a DUI checkpoint. Do you know what I did? I did something I should have been in jail for. Now, again, this was 30 years ago. I didn't make a U-turn. That would have been okay. I drove around the checkpoint, and they stopped me. 2 officers. What the F do you think you're doing? Now, I was probably pretty trashed, wasn't I? And when I stopped the car, there were probably about 25 empty bottles in the back seat, and they were clanging. You know how they clang on the floor? And you know what they did to me? They said, "Where do you live?" I told them it was about 2 miles away. They said, "Go straight home." You know? I got a big break. Oh, yes. Now again, this is a different world. And there were 2 officers, and I remember this like it was yesterday, because I saw it up real quick. And I couldn't believe this was on Davie Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. I drove around a checkpoint. It's crazy what I did. There was a male and female officer. The male officer was black. The female officer was white, and they let me go. Now, I think they let me go because it was a different time. I guess this was like 1990, you know? Now everything is escalated. Because now, no one knew that story. There were no body cams. There were no cell phones. The only people that had cell phones was like Michael Douglas in Wall Street with the brick phones. Now, everything is documented. So they have no police office, because everywhere people go, there's filming and everything. Police officers can't give breaks like that anymore. And they looked at my driver's license and knew I lived right down the street, okay? So they looked at my ID and still let me go. Police officers don't have discretion anymore because everything is possibly being recorded at any given time. So they can't, so a lot of times things are getting escalated because with everything being recorded, which includes body cams and cell phones, right? If they let someone go, that could cause a problem too. Police officers, I think, have lost their discretion to let people go.
It is to you. And I'm not going to tell you how to run a talk show host, but as far as I'm concerned, one of Biden's choices could be the mayor of Atlanta, who's a racist piece of garbage, who's inciting the whole community. She should have said, listen, there was a shooting there, but right off the bat, she's catering to all her black voters. She should have just said, I'm backing the police here until the investigation is done. Due process. I'm not going to make any kind of move like she did this strictly to cater. And to me, this is ridiculous. The whole country's catering.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna restate everything I said yesterday about the Georgia incident, but the guy, they shot a man in the back who, screwed up, and there's no doubt about it. But he had a non-lethal weapon that he discharged. He was drunk out of his mind. They should have tackled him. They had no business discharging a weapon on a guy with a non-lethal weapon in such a busy fast food drive-through.
Listen, we can go on and on and on. Most professional police officers will tell you you're wrong. So you get this one.
Well, that's okay. Listen, it's okay for people to think I'm wrong.
No, you were a liberal. You were a liberal before you were conservative. You backed Trump 150%, and yet I knew before I got on the phone yesterday that you would blame the cops. You know why?
By the way, that cop's singular, not plural. Only one of the cops killed him. And the other cop was a good guy. The cop that killed him used very excessive force and killed a guy.
But you actually will not condemn the mayor. You will not condemn.
How many times am I going to do I have to do a disclaimer every day, open up the show and condemn all these? I condemn all leftist activist organizations. I played the Stacey Abrams clip in the 8 o'clock hour of yesterday's show and mocked her. They shot a man in the back. They shot a man in the back who did not have a lethal weapon, who was not a threat to their life. A non-lethal weapon.
No, it is not. You're not telling the truth. There you go again. You are not telling the truth. And when you question, you said, "Oh, he was too drunk to hit him in the face." He shot that thing towards his face.
And he hit no one. He didn't even hit the officer. He missed him.
As soon as he pointed at it, and he shot him.
So after what is the when you have that type of taser weapon of the police, after you fire, what is the process to be able to fire it again?
So the process is that if you get on top of it, it's still the streamer is gone, whatever they call that, but the electric is still in that thing, and you're saying they should tackle.
It was 20 feet, 30 feet away from him. This guy was drunk out of his mind, and he had already discharged the taser. He was so asleep. The Wendy's worker tried to wake him up. The cop took several minutes to wake him up that arrived at the scene. I didn't play all that. It was edited, but it took him a few minutes to wake the guy up. He was so passed out drunk.
It was about 20 to 40 minutes in between, and he spoke very clearly. If you look at him, I didn't think he was drunk. He blew over. But I didn't think he was drunk.
All right, it's 2 minutes after 7. I'll continue after the break. Oh boy, Richie, take your blood pressure during the break. I'm Brian. It's 7:02. We'll be right back.
5.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
It's summertime, and that means backyard barbecues and hanging out by the pool. With Father's Day right around the corner, get Dad the gift all dads will love.
You can see out the window, go with the lights
From
off.
Ace Hardware Deerfield or Beach Ace Hardware in Lauderdale by the Sea. They are your grilling headquarters. They have an incredible selection.
So you get a better view with the lights are off.
And Traeger, and the best deals around on every type of grill.
But I like the lights on.
Gas grills, charcoal grills, portable grills.
You guys like the lights on or off?
Delivery is available too. Ace Hardware Deerfield is just south of Hillsboro on the west side of US 1. Beach Ace Hardware is in Lauderdale by the Sea. Tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show. And happy Father's Day.
Ace is the place for the helpful hardware, folks.
Dr. Matez, we talk about charisma.
Off, really?
Replacement pellet therapy brings back a lot of things in people, and one of the things I think it brings back is charisma, because I've met many listeners that are patients of Dr. Matez that I've met before they were patients of Dr. Matez, and I notice a big difference. And one thing
Good
I notice
morning,
is
Mike.
Confidence in guys after they start hormone replacement pellet
I
therapy.
like the lights on. It keeps me awake.
Yeah, yeah.
Get your mojo back. It's really
It
what it is.
changes your life. It changes the way you
Dramatic
feel.
lighting. No
You know,
dramatic
I
lighting. This is the radio.
This was years and years ago. Looking at the world after having the hormone therapy, and you look at the world, and the world is like a Technicolor. And when you give up the hormone therapy, it's like watching the world in black and white. It's just an amazing difference. Like
I look younger when they're off.
Isn't it? It's true. That's
I look fine with them
a
on,
big
too.
difference.
It is. As we get older, you know, we both physically and mentally break down, and we tend to get into a very black and white type of existence, a lot of people. Everybody's different, but when you get your hormone levels back and you get that vigor back, you feel good. Suddenly things are very bright.
Not worried about
I
electricity.
experience this myself, and I see it on listeners.
No, these lights are
I'll see
totally
a
cool. No
guy,
heat
and
from
he's
these
like,
lights.
And then I'll see him after he has become a patient of yours, and with hormone replacement pellet therapy, he seems like he's standing up strong, confident, 10 feet tall. What is it about hormone replacement pellet therapy that does that to guys?
I believe it's because you're putting God's nectar back into the body, basically. You know, God gave us testosterone in particular to give us energy and strength and endurance and muscle mass. It's what makes not just men, it's what makes people. And a lack of it takes all of those things away from you.
We'll meet with Steve Kane listeners at no charge.
Always.
What is the number they can call to make that appointment?
561-953-5490. 561-953-5490.
That's true about that DUI checkpoint.
At the Siegel Law Group.
I got lucky. I got lucky.
Of your assets at the time of your passing. Avoid probate. Call the Siegel Law Group with 9 offices throughout South Florida, from Palm Beach Gardens to Coral Gables. Call toll free 1-855-FLA-3782.
You are listening to South Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. Call the show toll free. Dial 1-888-GO-CANE 1. That's 1-888-GO-CANE.
All right, hour number 2 has begun. 6 minutes after 7. It is Tuesday, the 16th of June. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. I tell you, we've got some very opinionated people in our YouTube live chat about the appearance of my clothing. This, you know, you got cat hair on your shirt. You know, of course I've got cats. You know, when we started live streaming the show years ago, this is before we were here at the radio station, I said, I am not going to change anything about the appearance of myself. Steve's not going to change his appearance, and we're not going to dress up the studio to look like anything other than what it is. And, you know, there was a time in, you know, radio used to be, you know, a lot of mystery behind radio. You didn't know what the guys look like on the air. You didn't know what the girls look like on the air. You didn't know what the studios look like, you know, and you'd hear these sexy women on the air, and then you'd meet them, and then they look like they were the leaders of the local NAFA chapter. If you don't know what that is, Google it. You know, and when I remember when I first went to a radio station for a job interview, I couldn't believe it. You know, I was like, this is it. I mean, you know, and for many years, one of the biggest FM stations, I worked there briefly in South Florida, was in a rundown trailer park, and nobody knows. And I remember I was talking to this guy. I was like, what a dump this place is. And it's in a dump. He's like, but it's radio. It is whatever you make the listeners imagine. Now everybody sees everything. And what everyone else does that live streams, I don't do this, Steve doesn't do this, what everybody else does that live streams radio shows and the wannabe guys that are in their bedrooms, they have sets. They'll have like some wallpaper that makes it look like a brick wall behind them. I mean, look at Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck went out and bought a set of the Oval Office that was used in 13 Days with Kevin Costner and Bruce Greenwood. And he has a microphone that he claims would belong to Tokyo Rose and all of these things, you know. Do you see Rush doing that? Rush is sitting there in his golf clothes in the same studio he always sat in. So, no, the purpose of the live stream is to kind of get a behind-the-scenes look at what goes on. And I think if we alter it, you miss the behind the scenes. This is not a television show. This is a radio show, and we conduct it as such. You know, my favorite is I watch a lot of guys that are live streaming radio shows, and they're in suits and ties. That's my favorite. You know, they're in the dress shirts. They got the tie on. People in radio, the only people in radio that wear ties are the station managers and the salespeople in the sales department. And, you know, that's it. The other people, they dress, most people in radio dress like hobos. Okay? They look like street people. I know. So, no, not going to start, you know, people keep telling me, oh, you got to put this up in the studio wall. You got to do that. You got to get this. Someone during the break, like, for example, I keep the lights on in the studio. And we have a beautiful window and a view behind us. We're on the 5th floor here in Boca. And you can see better out of the window if I turn the lights off. So, you know, so people are all the time telling me, you got to turn the lights off. It looks better for us as the viewer. The reason the lights are on is part of the reason you keep the bright lights on is it keeps you awake and alert while you're on the air, okay? Being on the air is like running a marathon. And to turn and somebody, oh no, get a light. Somebody just said this during the night, get a light to illuminate your face. What, we could get some dramatic lighting in here? Are you kidding me? No. No. That would be fake, people. Steve and I get by on our talents. We don't have all these schemes and techniques to make it seem as if we're something we're not. It's all raw, it's all real, and it's live, okay? Now, all this talk about violence by police officers on African American men, and we talk about that a lot, but what's not talked about a lot is what's the violence that's being committed against police officers. This story is just a tragedy. It's all over the place. An investigation is underway after 3 New York City Police Department officers were allegedly poisoned with bleach at a Lower Manhattan Shake Shack on Monday evening. That's last night. While policing a protest in Lower Manhattan, the Police Benevolent Association and the Detectives Endowment Association said 3 NYPD officers were poisoned with bleach after ordering food and beverages at a nearby Shake Shack. The Detectives Endowment Association released a statement. Tonight, 3 of our fellow officers were intentionally poisoned by 1 or more workers at the Shake Shack at 200 Broadway in Manhattan. The Police Benevolent Association President Pat Lynch said in a statement, this evening, several MOS assigned to, what is an MOS? I don't know. Assigned to a protest detail in Lower Manhattan took a meal at the Shake Shack location on Broadway and Fulton Street. At some time during their meal period, they discovered that a toxic substance believed to be bleach had been placed in their beverages. The contamination was not discovered until they had already ingested a portion of their beverages. They're currently at the hospital as of when this story was written. This is in Breitbart. They're currently at the hospital receiving treatment, are expected to recover though. The officers, officials with the Detectives Endowment Association said were not seriously harmed and they are recovering at the hospital. The PBA is urging the NYPD officers to stay in groups and remain vigilant for the duration of the meal period. Shake Shack issued a statement saying they're cooperating with the investigation. They tweeted, "We are horrified by the reports of police officers injured at our Shake Shack in Manhattan. We're working with police in their investigation." The alleged attack comes as Governor Andrew Cuomo and Mayor Bill de Blasio and elected state Democrats have pushed to reduce funding of the NYPD following weeks-long anti-police riots in the city. I'll tell you, cops, bring your own food to work. I eat out often. I mostly do takeout. It's pretty much what I've been able to do these last few months. I wear Trump shirts and Trump hats all the time. All the time when I'm not at work. I wear them all the time. Mostly wear hats because it's sunny outside in Florida. I go to Starbucks, right, every day. I never wear Trump gear when I'm going anywhere that involves me getting food. Fast food, restaurants, no Trump shirts, no Trump hats, ever, because that's how liberals are. That's right. That's right. And it's a good thing. Now, could you imagine being a police officer? If I were a police officer, I wouldn't go anywhere in uniform and have a meal unless I either watched them prepare it, like at Chipotle, right? Or I prepared it myself. That's what you got to do. I go to Chipotle a lot. I see a lot of cops there. Maybe that's why cops eat at Chipotle, because they can watch the food being prepared. There was a story, this was many years ago. This was about 15 years ago. A police officer went to a fast food drive-thru. I can't remember which one. It was a fast food drive-thru. And the fast food worker gave him his food, and he was kind of laughing. And he got suspicious, and he took the hamburger, whatever it was, to the police department, had it analyzed, and the guy had spit in it. And it was filled with his saliva and phlegm and everything else. And this was about 15 or so years ago, and went back and they arrested the person. Now, come on. Regardless of what your opinion is on these incidents, they are isolated incidents. If all of the police were like the cop that murdered George Floyd, or the guy that shot, is it Brooks in Atlanta? There's so many, these incidents. It's hard to keep track of everyone's name, but the cop that shot the guy in Atlanta, if that was a regular occurrence, believe me, you would know. It'd be happening every day, every hour. I don't know how many police officers there are in America, but there are more incidents of people harming police officers. And by the way, the police officers that are being harmed are always innocent. Like these guys were just going in for a meal break at the Shake Shack. 100%, they didn't do anything wrong, these officers. There are more incidents of officers being attacked that are innocent people by criminals than the other way around. Okay? And that's a fact. And this one, I don't care what people say, this is a very regular occurrence. Now, you officers out there, is this something that you're aware of? Do you not go and order food? I wouldn't. No way. No way. And you know what's going on here? This is a terrible thing what's going on here with police officers. It's kind of like in the days of the Vietnam era, right? When guys in uniform, mostly drafted, most everyone was drafted back then. They'd walk around and some liberal would go up to, kill a kid today? Kill a kid today? How many Vietnam veterans were harassed and spit at? How many guys in uniform would deal, I'm talking about military uniform, would deal with things like cops are dealing with today? And again, Democrats, yet again, kill a kid today? That was a big thing. That was a big thing back then. These guys are drafted. They're being attacked. What are they supposed to do, right? Got to do what you're told to. I guess you could run to Canada. But, yeah. And I know Tucker Carlson said last night, I saw this online this morning, I don't know if any of you caught this. Tucker Carlson said that Black Lives Matter is more popular than the president. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? Is Black Lives Matter more popular than the president? It's the president that has 1 million people requesting tickets to the Tulsa rally. I don't think so. Listen, there's an illusion going on here. that there's a mass movement of support. It's a little, there is mass support, okay, that George Floyd was murdered by the police officer. Most everybody agrees with that. Huge number of people believe about Atlanta. There's not as much agreement on Atlanta as there is with George Floyd, but still, mass agreement in this country about the Atlanta thing. Agreeing about a particular incident is not the same thing as agreeing with Black Lives Matter. And I'll tell you, there is not a single person that is with Black Lives Matter or agrees with Black Lives Matter that was voting for Trump before. And there's not only is there mass support, not just this Tulsa rally, there was another massive Trump boat parade in Florida over the weekend, and others happened. And Independence Day is coming up. That's a big boating holiday. There are going to be so many boat parades for President Trump come July 4th. Oh, man. That is a massive, massive, massive day of support for President Trump. I started the show at 6 with this, and I want to really push this hard. Yesterday morning, when I went on the air, it was reported that 800,000 had requested tickets for the Tulsa rally. Obviously, not that many people are going to attend. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't. Yesterday afternoon, it reached 1 million. Astounding. 1 million. I know. It's insane numbers, and it's awesome, isn't it? I requested tickets yesterday, too. I'm going to get one for Steve. To the Tulsa rally. I have 2 tickets to the Tulsa rally, the Trump rally in Tulsa. I'm going to get 2 tickets for Steve, too, today. Everyone out there, request tickets for the Trump rally in Tulsa. This is a poll. They got all these phony polls that have Biden up. I told you there's one on Drudge yesterday that he's up 13 points, Biden. Tucker saying Black Lives Matter. None of this is true. If we could get that number up to 2 million, even though 2 million, we can't all attend. I can't go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's get the numbers up. It is a poll. It is a show of support. You may not be able to go to Tulsa. You may not be able to attend a Trump rally before the election. You may not be able to take part in one of these Trump boat parades, okay? But you can request tickets for you and your entire family to the Trump rally in Tulsa to get that number up, to show people how much support there is. And you know what? This is a movement that should be taking place on social media. Go to social media, get all of your friends and followers on your Facebook, your Parler, your Twitter, everything else that you use. Get all of your friends and family to request tickets to the Trump Tulsa rally, and let's get that number up to 2 million. Someone just told me there's only 410,000 residents in all of Tulsa. Oklahoma's a tiny state. What is the population of Oklahoma? We may be able to get more people requesting tickets that live in that entire state. This is huge, and it's a poll, and it's a show of support for the president. I've got 2 tickets. I think I should get one for my daughter, too. So I should have 3. I'm going to get another one for my daughter today. Everyone should do it. Show your support for President Trump. Request tickets for the Tulsa rally. Get that number up as high so we can show. Now, don't do it for fictitious people. Do it for real people and your family, okay? And get that number up and show how much support there is for this president. All right, let's take our break. Oh, my goodness, where is the day going? It is 22 minutes after 7 o'clock. Oh, my goodness, let's take the break. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show. Don't go anywhere.
Attention homeowners, this is Scott from Cut My Kilowatts. I'm here to cut your electric bill and save you a lot of money. Perhaps even eliminate your electric bill altogether. We do this by making your entire home energy efficient, by upgrading some or all of the following: roofs, doors, windows, insulating your attic, AC systems and ducts, hot water heaters, and even adding solar. Energy efficient improvements that actually pay for themselves over a short period of time. Our program is designed to make the savings on your electric bill pay for all or part of your low monthly payments. The PACE program is government sponsored and gives you up to 30 years to pay. Requires no credit check, no money down, no income verification, and no payments for up to 18 months. You only need to be current on your mortgage and taxes for the last 3 years to qualify. Energy savings and hurricane solutions made easy. Call 954-939-1500. 954-939-1500 to start saving money now.
It's summertime, and that means backyard barbecues and hanging out by the pool. With Father's Day right around the corner, get Dad the gift all dads will love: a new grill from Ace Hardware Deerfield or BJ's Hardware in Lauderdale by the Sea. They are your grilling headquarters. They have an incredible selection on all the top brands like Weber and Traeger, and the best deals around on every type of grill there is: gas grills, charcoal grills, portable grills, and more. Free assembly and delivery is available too. Ace Hardware Deerfield is just south of Hillsboro, on the west side of US 1. BJ's Hardware is in Lauderdale by the Sea. Tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show. And happy Father's Day.
This is the place for the helpful hardware, folks. Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. All right, now Howard Stern, I love Howard Stern. I think Howard Stern, you know, a lot of people may say, oh, conservative, you like Howard Stern. Howard Stern, and I'll tell you, you know, amazing. He's an amazing person. I have a lot of respect for Howard Stern, for everything he's done. I'm not into all the sex things, you know, and all that stuff, but I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's great. And I'll tell you, Howard Stern is the best interviewer in the history of the celebrity interview. Talk about celebrity interviews. He's amazing when it comes to celebrity interviews. I know Barbara Walters and all this stuff. No, Howard Stern is the best celebrity interviewer. I have heard him interview people that I've never heard of, that are celebrity, never heard of them, and I'm like totally engrossed and can't get out of the car, and I'm fascinated by them. Or people I couldn't stand, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. He's the best celebrity interviewer in the history of the celebrity interview. He only had one fail, and it wasn't his fault. It was Madonna, who has no personality and doesn't talk. But he's the best celebrity interviewer in history, and a lot of other things too. So now Don Jr. and Stern are in a fight. You know, Howard Stern knows the president, and he has been critical of him. He's attacking him and everything. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, I believe if Stern came out and was pro-Trump, it'd probably be difficult for him to get guests, the celebrity guests. Another thing about Stern is he's guy born and raised in New York. Of course he's a liberal Democrat. When you're born, they give you that Democrat voter registration card with the birth certificate. It's the law up there. But let me read this. This is in the New York Post, and it's about this past blackface incident with Howard Stern. It says here, this is New York Post. Howard Stern is firing back at Donald Trump Jr. for calling out his past use of racially offensive humor. It all started last week when controversy erupted over Stern's use of blackface and the N-word in a 1993 comedy sketch that resurfaced online Thursday. It was edited together with Stern's recent appearance on The View, in which he claims he never used the racial slur. The clip, which he claims satirizes Ted Danson's infamous blackface appearance in '93 with his then-girlfriend, Whoopi Goldberg. Now, people don't remember that. Whoopi Goldberg went to the Friars Club roast with her boyfriend, Ted Danson, who was an A-list actor at the time, and he went in blackface. And I've often wondered how that came to be, because he went with his girlfriend, Whoopi Goldberg. Did Whoopi Goldberg tell him, Ted, don't do that? She went with him. Maybe she was pissed off and trying to destroy Ted, or maybe she just, I don't know. Anyway, this was retweeted Friday by Trump Jr. along with the caption, "Yikes, NSFW," that's not safe for work. Howard Stern says N-word too many times during awful blackface impression that should have libs yelling cancel. Don Jr. is talking about the liberal cancel culture that's going on. Again, I'm reading from the New York Post. The self-proclaimed king of all media addressed the continuing controversy Monday morning on his SiriusXM show, and his words are classic Stern. And this is what Stern said. He says, "Am I a bad guy? I don't think so," he said. "Donald Trump didn't think so. He was on my show 27 times. Donnie Jr. did the show. On TV, he said, I'm really disappointed in Howard. He's changed. That I've gone Hollywood. Which is it? Do you want me to get in blackface and make fun of Ted Danson? I have changed. I remember how badly Donald Jr. wanted to take pictures with me. Dude, if you're the president of the United States and you want to worry about me, go ahead. I don't think I have much influence, honestly." And breaking news, Howard Stern was absolutely insane and out of his mind. I would take on anything and say anything and do anything. He's talking about that period of his life. Howard Stern went on to state he doesn't go back and watch his old shows, but he does own his past actions. "That I did was effing crazy," Stern said. "I'd be the first to admit it. I won't go back and watch those old shows. It's like, who is that guy?" Right? "I evolved, I've changed. If I had to do it all over again, would I lampoon Ted Danson, a white guy in blackface? Yeah, I was lampooning him and saying, I'm going to shine a light on this, but would I go about it the same way now? Probably not." He continued with some fiery words for the Trump family, ended by suggesting there are much more important things for the world to focus on right now. Yeah, and there's a picture here of him doing the blackface Ted Danson. Okay. A couple things about it. No one is a bigger fan of Howard Stern than me, so and I agree with Howard Stern on this blackface thing. First off, 1993. My goodness, 27 years ago. That's 30 years ago. Right, 27 years ago was 30 years ago. The vice mayor of Hollandale that's attacking the SWAT team down there, that was 5 years before she was born. She's 2 years old, vice mayor of Hallandale. I keep saying Hollandale, I've been told. Whatever. I'm going to still call it Hollandale. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's Hollandale. You're going to judge a man by one thing he did 30 years ago? See, this is the deal, okay? People do and say things that are stupid throughout their entire life. Are you going to judge a man or a woman based on something they did 27 years ago? No, of course you shouldn't. Now, a lot of people may wonder, why is Howard Stern getting away with this? But somebody else, he's not alone. Joy Behar on The View, there was a blackface photo of her that surfaced. Okay, and so why do they get away with it? Why does Joy Behar and Howard Stern get away with it? Why aren't they called out by the cancel culture of the left? It's because they're Democrat allies, or they're liberals, and Democrats usually don't go after their own if they're still useful to them. On occasion they will, but that's why. But I don't think Howard Stern would, I don't think Howard Stern would do anything like that today. It's been many years since he would do something crazy like that. And I'm not going to judge a man based on something he said or did 30 years ago. It's ridiculous. Now, so far as the blackface, he was lampooning Ted Danson. Is it, don't worry, I'm getting to the governor. Is it the same thing if you're wearing blackface, lampooning a white guy that was doing it? What Ted Danson did with Whoopi Goldberg was insane. That Friars Club. That was a big deal back then. A lot of you guys probably don't remember that. Most people probably don't even remember Ted Danson, right? Cheers. I never watched Cheers, actually. Surprisingly so. But, come on. Now, so far as blackface, I don't care what someone in the world of entertainment did 30 years ago. Right now, there's a sitting governor in the United States, a sitting governor of a major state, who was either in blackface or a Ku Klux Klan uniform. And that's the governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia was found in that yearbook. That was a graduate school yearbook. Wasn't even his youth. and he was either in blackface or the Klansman uniform. I think it was him in the Klansman uniform. And the Klansman uniform I found, when we were talking about this at the time, I found very disturbing because that Klan uniform that Northam was wearing was the real deal. It wasn't some homemade thing made with sheets and pillowcases. It was an official Klan uniform in that picture, which is pretty scary. How did he get it? Who gave it to him? But regardless, we don't know for sure. But we do know he's either the guy in blackface or the guy in the Ku Klux Klan robe. So where's the cancel culture with that? It's because Northam is doing their bidding right now. He's valuable to them. He's taking down the statues. He's getting the Democrat voting operation in Virginia safe and secure for them. And on top of that, he was either in blackface or the Klan uniform. Most of the federal government bureaucracy are Democrats, and most of them live in Virginia. So that means they voted for this guy. Right? The Democrat bureaucracy of America that work in D.C., the majority of them voted for a governor that was either in blackface or a Klansman uniform. And you know, Northam, if Northam would have come out and been honest about it and said, yes, that was me, and identified which was him, and said, he had a beer can, he had a beer in his hand, the guy in blackface, I was young and stupid, and I was drunk, and please forgive me, and I apologize, and all that stuff, I would not hold it against a guy. But he's never owned up to it, and he was never asked to own up to it. It's excused. Democrats always get an excuse. So what Don Jr. was doing with Howard Stern was not so much attacking Howard Stern, he was attacking the left with the cancel culture that go after conservatives, but Democrats, whether it's Joy Behar, Stern, or the governor of Virginia, they do these things and they get a free pass. That's what Don Jr. was talking about. It wasn't really an attack on Stern. I'm sure he's a big fan of Stern and still loves Howard Stern, and he'd probably go on Howard Stern's show, Don Jr. still. It wasn't an attack on Stern, it was an attack on the left. Because, you know, Howard Stern gets a free pass with the Ted Danson blackface from 27 years ago. If it had been, for example, Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, or Rush Limbaugh, their careers would be over. They would be off Fox News Channel, and they'd be off the radio by the end of next week. The left would make sure of it. Or Tucker Carlson. But because Howard Stern is a Democrat, free pass. That's what Don Jr. was talking about. Don Jr. wasn't suggesting, I don't believe, that Howard Stern should have consequences for something that happened 30 years ago. What he's saying is where are the left with the cancel culture that go after conservatives for minor infractions years ago, but major ones from the Democrats? It's the sound of silence. All right, 35 minutes after the hour. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call, please do. Our number, toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE 1, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. We'll be right back after this.
My attorney, Barry Siegel, the very fine attorney who executed my revocable living trust. Now, I had a revocable living trust when I went to see Barry, and I discovered that just having it's not enough. You have to keep it updated. Give me the reasons for that, Barry.
Well, Steve, things change as time goes by, and that's why it's important, just like you go to the doctor and get checkups every so often, it's important to get your revocable living trust and other estate planning documents checked up upon on
Hey,
a
guys.
regular basis. I would suggest every 3 years. And some of the reasons why you would need to update your estate plan is, first of all, some of the provisions that you may have made, your beneficiaries, your trustees, you may need to change them for one reason or another. Maybe your trustee's no longer with us, maybe they're not the best choice anymore, maybe you had more children and you need to put them in as beneficiaries as well. Also,
in my case, my executor had died, so I had no one representing me. Today I have Brian, who made him the executive.
and that's exactly the point. You need to review and dust off that old estate plan and take a look and see what you have to make sure it's up to date. You also want to make sure that it's up to date because laws change from time to time, and also things in your financial life may have changed, hopefully for the better. And if that's the case, you need to make sure that your planning is up to date, so that the bottom line is we want your estate plan to work for you when you need it. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your estate plan, and specifically your irrevocable living trust, is up to date.
The bottom line is call Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group, make an appointment, go in, make sure that your revocable living trust is updated. The number, toll free, 1-855-FLA-3782. Be sure to mention to Barry that Steve Kane sent you.
Are you between the ages of 18 and 60 and have thought about getting life insurance but never had the time? Or thought life insurance was too much work? Well, now is the time. Life insurance has changed. People are living longer, so rates are being reduced. These new life insurance policies also have living benefits, which means the owner can accelerate a portion of the policy's initial death benefit should the insured become critically, chronically, or terminally ill. And the majority of applicants get approved without a medical exam and simplified underwriting, which means you're approved even faster. Iowa Advisors can still assist anyone from the ages of 60 to 85 with life insurance. Call Debbie and her team to learn more. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WWNN.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. Couple things here. I don't want to get sidetracked on this too much, but this Supreme Court ruling, there's a lot being made of it. Justices rule LGBT people are protected from job discrimination, which means, according to this ruling, you cannot fire someone for being gay or transgendered. A lot's being made of this. And they're saying that, of course, Trump, the White House was opposed to this, and Gorsuch and others sided with the gays, and the Trump White House lost. I don't think so. Donald Trump, born and raised in liberal New York City, spent his life in and around the Studio 54 and then the Hollywood and the New York entertainment industry. Donald Trump has no problem with gay or transgender people. In fact, during the campaign, he was asked if Caitlyn Jenner could use the ladies' room at Trump Tower in an interview, and he said yes. And then Caitlyn Jenner went and did it and filmed it on an iPhone and put it online, and no one cared. What Trump was doing there was throwing a bone to evangelical Christians that this is a big issue for it. To me, it's not. I'm not opposed to what are considered gay rights, even gay marriage, and a lot of people that are conservative Christians, whenever we talk about this, get upset with me. Here's the deal with gay marriage. The gay marriage discussion never had anything to do with churches being forced to marry people. Okay? It had to do with the state marriage license, something they call a marriage. A real marriage is in a church with a priest, and all of this, an ordained minister, and things like this. They're talking about a government contract that's called a marriage contract and a marriage license. That's not the same thing. So what? Let him get married. Come on, give me a break. Donald Trump, I believe, agrees with me. People should not be fired because they're gay or transgendered. But the evangelicals, there's a lot of evangelicals that this is just a huge thing to them, And I don't know why. I find, now again, I could be wrong about this, but I've often thought with evangelicals that obsess over gay issues, that it's almost like a safe prejudice. When it comes to gay marriage, you often hear the sanctity of marriage. How many Christians are on their second wife, third wife? And that wife very well may have been their mistress. Look at our ambassador to the Vatican. Newt Gingrich's wife is the ambassador to the Vatican. Newt Gingrich was cheating on all his wives. His current wife may have been his former mistress. I don't recall offhand. If you're concerned about the sanctity of marriage, deal with that. With the The gays are not threatening the sanctity of marriage. I think it's heterosexuals are doing a pretty good job at that with the divorces and remarriages and all these guys. They're married to their former mistress, and they say, well, I had to leave my first wife for her, not because she's young with the huge boobs and all that stuff, but I was unevenly yoked with my previous wife that bore my children. And it just so happens that I'm evenly yoked with the 25-year-old with the huge boobs. I know. I don't know why I'm evenly yoked with her. It's not because she looks hot in a bikini and wears a thong on the beach. It's just we're evenly yoked. You know, come on, right? So give me a break. And Trump agrees with that. But even when during the campaign in 2016, the only thing that there were two incidents in the campaign that had me concerned. I was confident from day one. I was with Trump back in 2011 when he was teasing running, okay? I was pro-Trump back then. And if you were listening back then, you'll know. But there were two incidents during the campaign with Trump where I had concerns. Of course, the Access Hollywood tape. I thought, oh my goodness. I thought that would... And no, we didn't know he was the Teflon Don yet. And the second one is when I can't remember what it was, who interviewed him. It was two people were interviewing him about Caitlyn Jenner using the women's room, the ladies' room at Trump Tower. And I thought, oh, the evangelicals were screwed with the evangelicals now. And he won the evangelical vote. So this is just something symbolic that he threw to the evangelicals. Trump is as pro-gay as a Republican has ever been. I promise you, just because of his background, upbringing, and where he's from. All right, our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE, 1-888-465-2631. Let's take this break on time. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll go to the calls after this.
Lab tests now at Boca and Coral Springs are the best labs to go
Steve
to.
Kane Show.
Quick and affordable lab work that's private and accurate.
Yep, what's your name?
Other labs where you have to wait hours just to be
Hey, Jack,
seen
hold
by
on.
an unfriendly lab tech. Everything at any lab test now at Boca
Nope,
and
Steve
Coral
Kane Show.
Springs is first class.
All right, hold on. What's your name?
Labs are super
Hold on.
clean. The techs highly skilled and professional. Plus their prices are the lowest you will find. Guaranteed. If your time is valuable, and I know it is, you can now wait around to get your lab work. Any lab tests now at Boca and Coral Springs are the places you need to go. You will be seen quickly, with no appointment, no doctor's order or prescription necessary, in and out in 15 minutes or less. And they're always friendly and courteous. When you go to any lab test now at Boca and Coral Springs, you are putting your health care in your own hands. You are in control. They have every test you need, whether it's a blood test, urine test, drug test, STD test, or any other lab
I hate
test.
shaving. I've been shaving less because of the masks, but now masks are going away, so shaving. Steve Kane Show.
Where the Western Beef is, between Palmetto and
Hey.
Hillsboro, on the east side of State Road 7. Any lab test now of Coral Springs is on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall. Call any lab test now of Boca at 561-237-5099.
I went through all of that earlier.
Any lab test now of Coral Springs, 954-906-5983. Any lab test now of Boca, and any lab test now of Coral Springs. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
Yes, yes. All right, and let's check in with Dr. Mitch Matez. Dr. Matez, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing great. How's the anti-aging practice going?
The anti-aging practice is cooking along here, thanks to your help with Steve Kane listeners.
That's right.
Listen, Brian, I know you love when we talk about cognition, because we got our friend up there running for president with the cognition issues. I want to share a little something with you that is in a very, very high-end, prestigious medical journal from a few months ago, and it goes something like this. They're talking about what to do about cognition, and specifically this is dealing with cognition and the difficulties that women have in menopause. And it says that there are no trials that support the use of hormone therapy to treat cognition. But then it goes on in the very next sentence to tell you that there are trials that are used to treat the vasomotor symptoms, which is the hot flashes and the night sweats and stuff like that. And in those trials, it shows that hormones may actually help cognition. And it goes on to say that if you improve your sleep, which hormones do, that is a significant factor in improving your cognition. So once again, folks, we know the answer because the answer comes from science, okay? When your hormone levels are healthy and steady, you sleep like a baby, and you have awesome cognition.
Yeah.
Get older, and your hormone levels are dwindling and declining, you don't sleep so well, and your cognition clearly suffers. So if we're going to pay attention to science, which is a very big concept these days, and Brian, we could do a whole show on what science really means. We'll leave that for stuff on science. Then replacing your hormones is the way to fix your cognition.
And I'll tell you, just based on my own experience, okay, with hormone replacement pellet therapy, at my younger age compared to some, although I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm younger than a lot of people, I noticed immediately a major difference in my cognition, which I didn't think I had an issue with. And what I mean by that is my reading comprehension. I was quicker, I was faster, right away. And and I've seen this in others too. I've met many listeners who are patients of Dr. Matez over the years, and we always talk, and they agree with me on this. I know that may be anecdotal, but hey, that's my experience. And you need to call Dr. Mitch Matez. Cognition is huge. It's vitally important. 561-953-5490. 561-953-5490. And online, hormone therapy, BocaRaton.com. All right, Dr. Matez, we will talk later in the week. It is, yeah, just like the hydroxychloroquine, which I can't pronounce, but it's true. I mean, I've talked to many people, and I always ask them about the cognition because I noticed such a change in myself, and everyone I've talked to that's been a patient of yours that I've met all agree. All agree. Yeah. All right, take care, yeah, absolutely. A couple of things when I was talking about, John Bolton. President Trump, you want to talk about cognition. I mean, this guy, he is, a lot of times people say, oh, Donald Trump, he's playing tri-dimensional chess. He's 5 steps ahead. President Trump is 10 to 15 steps ahead of everyone at every moment in time. And that's one of the many reasons that he is successful. It's amazing. This John Bolton book, Donald Trump... He's so brilliant, Donald Trump. I tell you, he is so smart. He knows, and what Donald Trump is best at is media manipulation. This is how he made himself such a real estate star in New York, was his ability to manipulate the message, the media, whether it was entertainment media, gossip media, or in this case, political media. And he always knows. There was a great scam he ran on Merv Griffin when him and Merv Griffin were in this deal, and he was so many steps ahead of Merv Griffin. I mean, he just financially just devastated Merv Griffin. But anyway, this thing with John Bolton, Donald Trump is oh so smart. And what do I mean by this? You know, what's going on with John Bolton? Yesterday, this thing, John Bolton, the book is back now with John Bolton. I thought the book had already come out because it was like 6 months ago they were talking about this John Bolton book, and then the discussion disappeared. I thought the book came out and it fizzled, and apparently it is not. It is coming out. And of course, the media and the Democrats, the John Bolton, now again, they hate John Bolton. They hate John Bolton. They called him a Nazi back in the Bush era. And now the media think he's the voice of credibility, and he's going to be the one who exposes Donald Trump, right? The last publication that was going to bring down Donald Trump was the Mueller report, right? They spent years and millions on that, and that fizzled. They had Skanky Dan, the whole thing, you know the whole thing, and there were other books. But now the left, the mainstream media, have all their hopes and their dreams and their future in the John Bolton book. They used to hate John Bolton, but now he's the voice of credibility. So here you got President Trump on TV yesterday with the Attorney General, right, Barr. And the President and the Attorney General both say that John Bolton would be breaking the law, that all conversations with me as the president I deem classified, and if he reveals any of these, he's breaking the law. And the story is Barr's going to go after him. What Trump has done with the cooperation of Barr is get the liberals even more interested in the John Bolton book and what John Bolton has to say. I saw on Drudge this morning, let me say, there's an interview coming up with Bolton. Hold on, let me see if I can find where this is. Let me see here on Drudge. He's doing an interview, and the book will be breaking the law. Let's see here. Here's the Drudge report. Trump threat to prosecute Bolton. Barr vows to block book. Primetime TV special set for the weekend. Oh, what's this? ABC News announces Martha Raddatz, liberal, big lefty. She was in tears on election night. Remember Martha Raddatz on election night? Oh. ABC News announces Martha Raddatz will have the first exclusive interview with John Bolton on his memoir, describing his experience working in President Trump's administration. The primetime 1-hour special will air Sunday, June 21st on the ABC television network. Okay. John Bolton is still working for Donald Trump in an unofficial capacity. Don't you understand this? Donald Trump going after Bolton, right, gives more liberal hope and credibility to the book. And it gives more credibility to John Bolton. Now the left really want to hear what he says because Donald Trump's afraid. Donald Trump is so afraid of what John Bolton's going to say. I almost said Michael Bolton. Is Michael Bolton still around? I don't know. Donald Trump is so afraid of what John Bolton is going to reveal that he's threatening him. He's telling him he's breaking the law. And in fact, Trump said yesterday that since he was never confirmed by the Senate, Bolton shouldn't even be calling himself an ambassador because he was never confirmed by the Senate. He said he couldn't get confirmed by the Senate, he said, Trump yesterday. My prediction, now this may go, now the Martha Raddatz interview is just, it's the introduction to liberal society of John Bolton, okay? So I'm not saying this is going to happen in the Raddatz interview. John Bolton is going to be on all the liberal shows now. He's going to be interviewed by Fredo and AC 360 Cooper, and he's going to be on Morning Joe, and he's got Rachel Matt. All of them are going to interview him. And they all want to interview him now. Why? Because Trump doesn't want Bolton silenced. I believe John Bolton and his book will totally back everything Trump has done. I think he's going to come out, just like the Mueller report, clear Trump. I believe John Bolton, did I say Michael Bolton? I keep wanting to say Michael Bolton. I might have said Michael Bolton. I don't know. But I believe the John Bolton book and John Bolton himself will be very supportive. Now, the Martha Raddatz interview, I don't expect it. I expect the Martha Raddatz interview to be critical of Trump because that's part of the con, to get him on every show. Oh yeah, Nicole Wallace. He's going to sit down with the coven of The View. John Bolton, what do you got to say? And John Bolton is going to totally back Trump in every decision pretty much that he's ever made. Trump wants this book out. Trump wants John Bolton on every show. He's still working for him. And this dissing that he did yesterday, is when I say he's 10 to 15 steps ahead, everyone in the media is too stupid, or they have such a serious case of Trump derangement syndrome, they can't see the obvious, which is what I'm telling you right now. Even if they heard me telling you this, they wouldn't believe it. In fact, many of you probably think this is crazy. The Martha Raddatz interview, I'm not saying that this weekend. Martha Raddatz interview, he'll be critical of Trump. He's got to be critical in the beginning. This is the bait to get on all the shows. And then he's going to go out and clear Trump everywhere. It's so, Trump is so, this guy knows how to manipulate the media in ways that can't be taught. He's just the maestro of media manipulation. And the John Bolton book is a part of that. Oh man, it's so, isn't it? Enjoy this. We got 5 more years. Even if we get there will never be another president like this. Never. Republic, never. So enjoy every minute of it. This guy, I tell you, when he writes his book, The Art of the Political Deal, I hope he reveals all these things that we're talking about right now, because this is just, it's so amazing. And no one's, am I the only one who sees this? John Bolton, the first talk of John Bolton's book came out, was it last year, or at least the very beginning of this year? If that book was really damaging to Trump, believe me, they'd be leaking it out. Just to wet the whistle of these lowlives, okay? Oh, man. All right, we're coming up on the top of the hour. My name is Brian Craig. Now, let me tell you, you may have seen there's an increase in COVID-19 in South Florida. In fact, they're shutting down some bars in South Florida that were open. Miami is, Dade County is not going to phase 3 because of the coronavirus increases. I've seen similar stories in Broward County. Listen, you want to get tested. Even if you've been tested before, you want to get tested again. And you want to do it in a way that's safe. Not only do you want to get tested for COVID-19 coronavirus, you want to get tested for the antibodies. Even if you've previously been tested, get tested again. Any lab test now of Boca, any lab test now of Coral Springs. Listen, there's lots of any lab test nows, only 2 advertising on the Steve Kane Show. That's any lab test now of Boca and any lab test now of Coral Springs. They offer both the coronavirus testing and the antibody test, and they offer great deals on it. Now, for the coronavirus and antibody test, they do ask that you call ahead and make an appointment, okay? Any lab test now of Boca, they are located in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is, between Hillsborough Boulevard and Palmetto Park Road on the east side of State Road 7, 441. And their number is 561-237-5009. 561-237-5009. Any lab test now of Coral Springs is located on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood near the Coral Square Mall. Their number, 954-906-5983. Both listed at stevekaneshow.com. Employers, by the way, get your employees checked. Or if you think you might, get your families checked too. Get yourself checked. Both the antibody and the coronavirus testing. Both locations, their contact information listed at stevekaneshow.com. Any lab test now of Coral Springs, any lab test now of Boca Raton, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show. All right, I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll take our break. Third and final hour begins right now.
5.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
Attention homeowners, this is Scott from Cut My Kilowatts. I'm here to cut your electric bill and save you a lot of money. Perhaps even eliminate your electric bill altogether. We do this by making your entire home energy efficient, by upgrading some or all of the following: roofs, doors, windows, insulating your
Steve
attic,
Kane Show.
AC systems and ducts, hot water
Hey.
heaters, and even adding solar. Energy efficient improvements that actually pay for themselves over a short period of time. Our program is designed to make the savings on your electric bill pay for all or part of your low monthly payments. The PACE program is government sponsored and gives you up to 30 years to pay. Requires no credit check, no money down, no income verification, and no payments for up to 18 months. You only need to be current on your mortgage and taxes for the last 3 years to qualify. Energy savings and hurricane solutions made easy. Call 954-939-1500. 954-939-1500 to start saving money now.
Stop paying an outrageous fortune for your tires. Go easy on your budget and buy your tires at Friendly Tire in Margate, where they have all the major brands like Goodyear and Firestone at discount prices that absolutely can't be beat. Steve Kane's tires for his Toyota van. At the other shops, $175 a tire. At Friendly Tire, just $75 a tire. That's a $100 savings per tire. Tires for my daughter Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire. These prices are out the door and on the road. Free mounting and balancing and no added charges. Friendly Tire have a great selection of good used tires too, starting at just $30 for most cars. Call my good buddy Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire. Tell him what you drive and he will give you a great low price right over the phone at 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by Attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Are you concerned with the distribution of your assets at the time of your passing? Avoid probate. Call the Siegel Law Group with 9 offices throughout South Florida, from Palm Beach Gardens to Coral Gables. Call toll-free 1-855-FLA-3782.
You are listening to South Florida's longest
Oh, no, I didn't see that. Oh,
show,
well.
The Steve
Good
Kane
PR
Show.
for One American
Call
News.
the show toll free. Dial.
Yes, yes. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. It's Tuesday. Third and final hour has begun, 3 minutes after 8. Let's take a call or two, then I want to get into some of these issues again. Let's see here. Ray, you're on the radio, Ray.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
All right.
This morning.
Well, thank you.
In just the last few minutes, you went through any lab test now, Dr. Matej, Barry Siegel, William Youngerman. What do they all have in common? All your sponsors. Once I talked about integrity with Barry, but you don't just get a phone number or you're saying something about them because they're a sponsor. You get useful information. You get scientific information. You get expertise. That's what makes these real.
Yes. Oh, great.
The first time in my life I ever got. I had some questions, of course, but I can't believe it. It's a beautiful place. People, all the treatment is unbelievable. But this Dr. Yuri. Listen to this. She has a master's degree in biometrical science. She has a doctorate in podiatric medicine. She spent 3 years surgical residency in Mount Sinai in Miami. This is the doctor that I saw.
Yeah, at the Soul Authority. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cut my nails. First she examined my bones. She checked my arteries. She checked for circulation, sensation, all these other things, But, I really want to thank you because I would highly recommend the Soul Authority and all your sponsors because they have expertise.
New commercial.
As well as integrity. And that's what's important.
Absolutely. Well, our sponsors are highly screened. We just don't take anybody who wants to advertise. We have a new auto repair shop joining us. Steve and I went and met with them yesterday. They'll be joining us here real soon. So we do our due diligence. So what's on your mind, Ray? Appreciate the plug. I might be able to cut a new commercial out of that. I don't know. I'll see.
The program about taking it in and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking about at that time. You know what that's all really about? Is giving in to these. Let's face it. These are not peaceful protesters. There are some there, right? We're talking about rioters, arsonists, vandals, and even in some cases killers. Cops are being killed. Citizens are being killed here. Antifa is definitely involved here. And when I look at this as when you take a knee. All right? Except they remember that, never, right? You are negotiating with terrorists. And that's giving into them.
Well, yeah, you're right. By the way, Nadler should go over to the Soul Authority. Those diabetic shoes he's wearing, he's got those old Frankenstein shoes. Jerry Nadler, go to the Soul Authority. Most people, you're right to a certain extent. Most people that are involved in these things don't realize, the useful idiots is the phrase from years ago. They don't realize what they're a part of. The Democrats, think about it. We have a president that's so incredibly popular that after a global pandemic, after an impeachment, after unemployment levels that have never been seen in America, even during the Great Depression, he still has 1 million people that are going to go and see him, or that want to go see him at his first rally in Tulsa, more than double the population of the city. And, and all these things we're dealing with are schemes to try to get minorities back to vote Democrat and not vote for Donald Trump. That's what it's all about.
Right? And he was talking about taking down the statues and the Confederate flag and all this stuff, What he pointed out is, again, the history that we never know and never hear, and all these revisionists that don't want us to know, right? And they, defame the founding fathers and all that stuff. But you know what Ben Carson pointed out? That those statues were put up in reconciliation. It was a way of making peace, binding up the nations.
Yeah, there was a 10-year military occupation of the South, and there was a lot of that went on. All right, I gotta run, Ray, but thanks for the call and thanks for the great kind words about the Soul Authority. Now, I started the show talking about what's going on in Broward County. Broward County, there's two major racial issues going on in Broward County right now, which is our primary listening areas range, Broward County. I talked about them both in the first hour. One is the SWAT team in Hallandale. I'm still going to call it Hollandale, I'm sorry. The SWAT team in Hallandale quitting over the chief taking the knee with the 22-year-old vice mayor with the Black Lives Matter. That's one issue. The second, the second issue is this effort to rename Broward County because it's named after the it's named after the governor of Florida from 1905, a Democrat who they say was a racist and a segregationist and all this. All Democrats were racist, segregationist in 1905. So you're going to have to go around and rename other counties too. Collier County, the Collier family, they had to be in league with the Democrats to get the county named after. They're going to have to go back and rename we've got to rename everything and take everything down and everything else. This is what's going on in Broward County. Broward County has been a long-time Democrat stronghold. I don't believe it's as Democrat as it used to be. Okay? Broward County. I'm not saying it's not a Democrat county. I'm looking over Broward County right now. I'm not sure if I'm in Broward or Palm Beach where I stand. We're on the county line here at our studios, and I'm not sure which side of the county we're on. I gotta find. I think we're still in Palm Beach, but maybe not. I don't know. What county? Do you know what county? I don't know. We're on the county line right here. Doesn't matter. Broward County has been a long-time Democrat stronghold. If you remember on election night 2016, if you were watching on CNN like I was, 67 counties in Florida, 66 report in, not Broward. Broward was the last one, and they were waiting from the call from the Javits Center. They had all the vote fraud statisticians. Can we stuff the boxes enough to bring Florida for Hillary? And they couldn't do it, so they called it, and then boom, that was it. The state was called for Trump. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, didn't just remove the sheriff of Broward County. He removed the election supervisor of Broward County, who was believed by many to be corrupt. He appointed a Trumplican who is the election supervisor now. Okay? There's been in the last 20 years, there's been a lot of changes in Broward County. One is among Jews. When I was growing up in Broward, even when I first started working with Steve, to meet a Republican who was a Jew was so rare. Oh my gosh, it was so rare. We had some on the air and you'd meet people from time to time. Now it's the norm, right? It's not unusual to meet Jewish Republicans anymore. It used to be. So there's been a big shift among Jews. That doesn't mean that most are not still Democrat, but there's not as many as there used to be. There's also been a big demographic shift. The county has more, they were saying in this petition to rename Broward County that it's a majority-minority county. Okay, maybe that's true now. And they're saying that between the black and the Hispanic population. That may be true. But the major growth in the demographics, if Broward County is truly a majority minority county. That's a liberal phrase. But the black population are mostly Caribbean. And if you remember, I got a call the other day from a black guy, and he says, I'm a Trump guy. And I said, well, you're from the islands. You're from Jamaica, right? He had a faint accent. He'd been here a long time. He says, yeah. When you meet blacks that are from the Caribbean, Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, the Virgin, wherever they're from, when you meet blacks that are from the Caribbean and they come here, they are typically Republican. It has always been that way. Now, once they have kids and grandkids that are indoctrinated in the South Florida, Broward County school system, they may grow up to be Democrats. But the Broward has become a majority minority county, if that's true, because of immigrants from the Caribbean. And blacks from the Caribbean lean Republican. So far as Hispanics, similar thing as well, okay? And I'm not saying that Broward County is going to go Republican in this election. That would be, I would love if it did. That would be insane. But in Broward County, we are going to have the first election in Broward County that is not filled with extreme levels of vote fraud and mismanagement leaning towards the Democrats in maybe forever. There used to be a Republican supervisor of elections in the 90s and the 80s. I'd forgotten her name, and she retired. But since the era of Miriam Oliphant and then this last supervisor of elections, it's just been total corruption with the Democrat machine and involving absentee ballots and all kinds of other things. Broward County is still probably a majority Democrat county, but it is not as heavily Democrat as the elections would lead you to believe because of the voting irregularities and because we have a Ron DeSantis appointed supervisor of elections. The Democrat vote fraud machine is still in operation. It always is, but it doesn't have the cooperation of the election offices. You understand? So it's not going to be full steam ahead like it has been in the past. So their vote fraud operation among the Democrats has taken a severe blow. So what are they doing? They're stirring up racial incidents, taking advantage of what's going on around the country to try in their mind to get more liberals to the polls. So whether it's taking a knee in front of the police station or we've got to rename the county. We've got to rename the county. We got to rename the county because it was named after a guy who was governor in 1905 who, like every other Democrat in 1905, was a racist segregationist. Find me a Democrat in 1905 who was not a racist segregationist. Could you please do that? Who? They all were, okay? It was 1905. So they figured that, okay, that'll get young blacks out. They'll vote Democrat because, of course, to change the name of the county, it's not just at the county level. It takes place at the state level, so we got to send some state reps and everything else. These are all phony issues. They're not so much distractions. They're vote-getting schemes. These are all vote-getting schemes. Now, you know, this incident in Hollandale, I don't know anything about the police chief other than that she's a woman. It doesn't seem that, are there any men police chiefs anymore? Atlanta, Hollandale? Are there any men that are chief? It's all women now. That's okay, but, you know, typically if you have a female police chief, typically they're a Democrat, right? And this taking a knee and renaming the county, and I'll tell you, they used an article from the Sun Sentinel around 1910 to declare that Governor Broward was a segregationist. I didn't need a Sun Sentinel article to tell me that. He was a Democrat in 1910. He was a segregationist. They all were. Okay? Let's rename everything named after every Democrat, I guess. It was in the Sun Sentinel, and I did some reading up on this governor. And do you know why all the newspaper accounts from 1905 and 1910 go after him? I'll tell you why. He was anti-political establishment. Henry Flagler was still around, and he chose who the governors were, and he went against Henry Flagler. And Henry Flagler owned the newspapers like the Sun Sentinel because the railroad were running ads. Don't you get it? In the papers. So anyway, this renaming of Broward County petition, which is a very real thing. I saw it on all the local news yesterday. Go to all the local news stations. They are doing extensive, heavy coverage. The Broward County and Dade County news stations are doing heavy coverage on renaming Broward County. It's a phony issue to try to get young blacks out to vote. And I got news for you. I saw them interviewing some black people on this issue, and I heard accents from the Caribbean. They're Americans now, but they weren't originally, or their parents weren't. They may support changing the name of the county. They may, but that doesn't mean they're voting Democrat. Caribbean blacks lean Republican. They lean Republican. Even if they take a knee with Black Lives Matter, they lean Republican. I promise you. All right, let's take our break. 17 minutes after the hour. I got to clarify something because I've gotten some questions about this from listeners, and it involves one of our newest. We have a couple of new sponsors joining us this month, and one of them is the Gardens. And I'm going to play that commercial going into this break, and people have asked me. I'm not kidding. More than one listener has messaged me on Twitter. I've even gotten emails about this, and I haven't responded yet. They were concerned, and their concern is why did Steve plan his funeral arrangements? You're doing commercials for the Gardens. Steve made his pre-arrangements at the Gardens 15 years ago.
Absolutely. I was one of the first to
It was still under
sign up.
Yeah, the Gardens was still under construction at that
That's why
time.
I've got such a neat position right by the door as you walk in. Steve King, right?
Steve has the best spot in the mausoleum because it was under construction still when he bought it.
And I figured I'd get the top of the line one because I'm going to spend eternity there. So you want nothing but the best.
And since Steve prearranged, his spot over there is paid for and has been actually paid for many, many years. So those of you out there that have been saying, what's going on? Steve's planning his funeral. Is everything okay? No, nothing's wrong. Everything's okay. The plot was bought 15 years ago, and it was paid for many years ago, and they've rejoined us as an advertiser after these many years.
By the way, I don't demand a lot from my audience, but I do expect a big turnout at my funeral when it comes.
Really?
That's up to you. You're the one. I'm not going to be here to.
Well, that's up to your family, not me. But you really want like Liberal Al there and Lurch. I remember at Rick Siderman's funeral, the Chronics showed up, and it was like, oh my goodness.
You can rest assured.
It was like a desecration.
The one thing I don't worry about is whether Lurch will be there.
Not sitting next to me though. I promise you that.
There.
Yeah. All right. Listen, we'll take our. I had to clarify that because people have been asking me. The first couple people are like, oh, just a couple of trolls, but it's almost every day now. People are getting concerned. No. 15 years ago that was planned. All right, we'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
This is Steve Kane, and I wanted to share with you some thoughts about why I chose the Gardens of Boca Raton to be my final resting place. I have always been uncomfortable with thoughts of death and dying, but the very first time that I visited the Gardens of Boca Raton,
No.
I could feel
Well, what would this be for you for?
vanish. Just knowing that I'd be spending eternity with my family in such magnificent surroundings lifted my spirits. The Gardens of Boca Raton is an all-faith, above-ground cemetery with tranquil surroundings, a place where your loved ones can come and visit you time and time again, remembering and celebrating your life. The Gardens have caring professionals available to help you in your time of need, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pre-need with 0% financing is available and prevents your family from having to deal with these matters at the time of their grief and sorrow. The Gardens of Boca Raton, dedicated to all those who have lived and all those who live today. Let the Gardens take care of your family as they are taking care of my family. Schedule a tour today. Call 877-PLAN-561 or online at thegardens.com. Tell them Steve Kane sent you.
Stop paying an outrageous fortune for your tires. Go easy on your budget and buy your tires at Friendly Tire in Margate, where they have all the major brands like Goodyear and Firestone at discount prices that absolutely Absolutely, can't be beat. Steve Gaines tires for his Toyota van. At the other shops, $175 a tire. At Friendly Tire, just $75 a tire. That's a $100 savings per tire. Tires for my daughter Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire. These prices are out the door and on the road. Free mounting and balancing, and no added charges. Friendly Tire have a great selection of good used tires too, starting at just $30 for most cars. Call my good buddy Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire. Tell him what you drive and he will give you a great low price right over the phone. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
Steve Kane Show.
Just search for WWNN.
All right, we are back with you. I wanted to share a thought with you as I sit hour after hour watching this terminal depressing news, and I will confess to you, it has really gotten to me. It just, over the weekend, it kind of hit me. It's just too, you ever heard of too much of a good thing? Well, this is too much of a bad thing. Having to listen to these depressing stories, round the clock. With Fox News, my old favorite, Fox. Even Fox has become dreary.
Oh, finally, you're waking up.
Everybody's talking about we need more. The deputies need more training. They need to train. I'll tell you what. No, I cannot believe what I'm about to say. No one has. I better take this back because people may have said it and I didn't hear it. I have not heard a single person say what I'm about to tell you. There is training that is missing, and there is training that is badly needed, and there is training that if we got it, most of these things would not occur. You want to know what training that is? That is the training of fathers to their sons. Your cop comes up to you, cop stops you, whatever it is. Yes, sir. No, sir. He is a figure of to be respected. He's there to protect you, make his job easier, not tougher. It's interesting. Before that last Atlanta killing went south, the cop talked to him for about a half hour.
The first cop, yeah.
The first cop.
The second cop escalated things a little bit.
Well,
the one that shot him in the back twice.
Well, no, but that's a different story. I mean,
Yeah, the first cop is all right. He was a great example
And
of
the
this work.
second cop, any cop, you can't control the cop. What you can do is be cooperative.
Yeah.
And be friendly and understand, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, officer, no, officer, whatever it is, and be pleasant. And it's lack of respect for authority is what these people are suffering from. They never had, my boys who are black, I understand what the realities are out there, and I can tell you they were raised with an awareness of those realities. The policeman, it's like, I raise you, I'm the authority in the house. I hand you off to school, the teacher's the authority in the school, and when you're out driving around, the police are there as authority figures. I don't care what they do to you, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have a real problem, kind of, try to...
Have you told them not to steal their tasers and punch them in the face too when they're stopped?
That's right.
That'll get you in trouble
by the way,
too.
the guy, I forget his name, the guy that got killed, he was pretty buff. Did you notice that? I mean, if you
Was he?
look at his
Well, he
arms,
beat the crap out of both of those cops.
Yeah, no, he was a formidable opponent.
Yeah, they couldn't take him.
And but unfortunately, not one person, not one show I've listened to, nothing. No one has said, teach respect in the house for the law.
Yeah.
Respect the law.
Yeah.
Go by the law. Be nice to police officers. Don't give them a hard time. If he's having a bad day, the cop, and if he's a little snitty, whatever it is, he's got that badge. You do what he says.
Especially the motorcycle cops are the worst.
Well, don't get me started.
They're the
on
worst.
Motorcycle cops. But
They are the
matter.
worst.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Highway patrol's pretty rough too. I'm not a big fan of the highway patrol.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's not the issue. The issue is the way to control that situation as a civilian driving around is not to start
Yeah.
conflict, to be respectful.
Well, yeah, that's right. And you know, what you're talking about is preparation.
Have you heard anybody say that? Maybe I missed it. Have you heard anybody talk about
I used to
respect
hear
for the law?
Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Rogers. They used to talk about that.
I remember that well.
They used to do that on Sesame Street. Now they've gone Black Lives Matter on Sesame Street. But yeah. All right, listen, speaking of being prepared, Attorney Barry Siegel will get you prepared. Barry Siegel.
Professor Siegel, how are you doing today?
Steve Kane
you
Show.
There? Yes, we're on the air. Good morning to you, sir. Hmm. Hmm. And the operative word there is free. There is no charge, only because you're a Steve Kane listener. Other people get charged for this, but you, as a bonus for being a Steve Kane listener, will have that consultation at no charge. Call, make the appointment. This is toll free 1-855-FLA-3782. 1-855-FLA-3782. Barry, good talking to you. We'll speak to you soon. Take care, my friend. All right, we're back.
You know, another bit of advice for young people might be that are working at Shake Shack is don't put bleach in the beverages of officers when they come in and order food.
You know, this is a serious thing, and you're making light of it.
No, it is serious. You can kill someone doing that. But the thing is,
you know what,
Steve,
this is
those,
the most
yeah,
amazing thing, the most amazing
they didn't think
thing.
they were doing anything wrong
It's
at Shake
not-
Shack.
Exactly. It's
That's
not,
you know,
It's
they thought it was part of the BLM movement.
exactly. It's so just the discouraging part of it is not that it's true, but that no one talks about it in the media. I haven't heard one person say you can avoid all these things. You know, I mean, you get the families after it's over.
I mean, the police officer's your
they're
friend.
Sobbing.
Yeah, no,
The families have all gathered, and you know they've lost a loved one or got shot by the cops and all that kind of stuff. No one's saying, well, maybe if you had done a different job raising him when he was young and taught him respect for the law and respect for police, maybe he wouldn't be dead now. Maybe it's not as simple as you're making it.
Well, you know, the thing at the Shake Shack with the bleach in the drinks, I would bet you, now, I mean, now they're, you know,
They're backing off this.
the people that, no, it's in the New York Post front page today.
Right, but
Shake Shack's even commented on it.
No.
Who's backing off?
They're saying that it was an accident.
Yeah, of course. That, well, I'm sure they must have lawyered up already. But the people that did that to the cops, they don't even think they did anything wrong. They think it's a form of protest, and that's a sickness. But they don't, you know, you've got people that don't know the difference between right and wrong.
It's called no respect.
Yeah.
It's called no respect, simply.
Yeah. Good morning. You're on the radio. Yes, Chris.
Chris, how are you today? You are black and you are a father, so I'm sure your kid will never end up in a situation like that.
Yeah. Now, where you're in South Florida, you know, I was talking earlier, and I know this isn't in the national news, but it's all over the local news. Is this there's two stories going on in Broward County. One's national, one's not. The one of renaming Broward because it's named after a segregation, or so they say, and then these Hollandale SWAT team members that quit because the police chief and the 22-year-old vice mayor took a knee with Black Lives Matter. You know, I think the Democrats are worried about Broward, and they're really Broward's not going to go Republican, but we don't have electoral college county level. They have lost so many Democrats, even in the Democrat stronghold of Broward, that they're stirring up these issues to try to get more Democrats out to vote. Well, it shows you, not yet. It shows you how much trouble the Democrats are with the black vote, that they're making these issues up. Well, give me an example. The taking of the knee by this lady police chief in Hollandale. They're pointing to an incident that happened 6 years ago. If there was if Hollandale had something happen like happened in Minneapolis, okay, I could see the police, okay, we got to calm down our tiny little town of 12 people, and I'll take a knee. This was just something they did as a political activist kind of thing to do, and the SWAT team quitting may have been not the smartest move to make. They'll just use the BSO SWAT team from now on. But they're in trouble with the black vote in Broward County. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that people have woken up. And Candace Owens has done a lot of work here in Broward County. You know, Charlie Kirk is based in Florida. And Candace Owens has done a lot of work in Broward County and spends a lot of time in Broward County that you don't know about. You know, if you watch her live stream and tweet, she's in Broward County all the time doing stories. And there's been a lot of, and I was talking earlier, the number of, they're making a big mistake, the Democrats, because they don't understand. There's been an increase in the number of black residents in Broward County, but the majority of them are from the Caribbean that leans Republican. So I think this is exciting times in South Florida. Yeah. Don't take a break.
Well, I don't like what's going on in New York with they've already managed to get rid of all the police. We laughed when they talked about it.
Well, do you see they're doing away with the plainclothes division?
600 cops.
And you know the plainclothes division is very important because that's how when people see the police uniform, they stop doing crime, or they toss the gun in the garbage or the drugs in the garbage. Having plainclothes officers walking the streets is an important tool.
Well, you can rest assured it wasn't the police that wanted that.
No, it was. Oh, by the way, yeah, go ahead. Well, you know, the thing about New York, I mean, I know you're born in don't worry a second. You're born and raised in New York. Now, I've only been to New York as a tourist, and I remember the first time I went to New York, I was scared. I was as frightened in Times Square the first time I went there as I was when I went to South America, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then I went back after Giuliani, and it was like going to Walt Disney World.
I got a story. When we get back from the break, we were up on a break here. I'm going to tell that story, the Times Square story.
Yeah.
With the police.
Yeah.
Because it's very instructive.
Thanks for calling, Chris. Yeah, and what they want to do is they want to turn it back to the scary times. Now, on the line, Steve, we have Richard Pearl from Simply Natural.
Richard Pearl, you want to get healthy, you want to stay healthy. Richard Pearl, the man who can do it for you. And Richard, are you there on the phone? What words of wisdom do you have for us today? Okay.
For yesterday.
Well, everything has to do with, I've learned this from you, everything has to do with that immune system. And I know I spent a lot of time up at Simply Natural getting my supplements, and Brian gets his supplements there. And it's an education. And the other thing about Richard, very accessible. He's always there to answer all your questions. Richard, tell them where you are and when they can get you. Richard, good talking to you, and we will speak tomorrow. Take care.
Yeah, and you know, this thing with what people don't know about de Blasio is de Blasio came up through Dinkins. He worked for Dinkins when he was mayor, and that's how he's the mayor today. So he's trying to take New York back to the Dinkins period of high crime.
Do I have a little 3 or 4 minute gap here?
We're here till 9. Yeah, you got time.
Okay, because I'm going to try to abbreviate this story. I'm trying to fix the time on when this occurred. What year was Apocalypse Now released?
1979.
My man.
Then when it comes to movies, you know,
This story that you're about to hear is 1979. I was visiting New York. I was residing in Florida. I was teaching in Florida, but I was on a vacation with a very lovely lady who was one of my students who...
You weren't married at the time, were you?
No.
Okay, had to think. There's the
and
girlfriend.
I'd given her a gold pendant, the masks of the theater, tragedy and comedy, and she wore it around her neck. So anyway, we were going to see Apocalypse Now, which was opening. It was the opening week. It was a big thing. and it was at the theater at 50th and Broadway. We got out, finished the movie, I would say about between 12 and 1 o'clock at night, and we started to walk downtown, so this is where our hotel was. And I love Times Square. I was always very comfortable in Times Square. It was New York that represented, everything I loved about New York at the time. And this is in the days when it was broken down and crime-ridden and drug-infested and all that stuff. I felt right at home. So we're walking downtown, we get to 42nd Street. We're walking straight south from the theater. And it is a mass of black people. There wasn't a white person.
Just the two of you.
The two of us, and an army, everybody was black. It was the most amazing thing. I'd never seen anything quite like
Why was it that way? The neighborhood, or?
Well, because that's where black people wanted to after midnight to do whatever it is they do.
Okay.
Which in our case was snatch my lady's chain, which was very popular in those days. Black kid reaches up and grabs her the thing from around her neck and runs. And I was furious because this had emotional meaning to me, obviously. And I started to run after the guy, and
that was smart.
Well, a couple of the people who were around me said words to that effect. They said, "You don't want to chase him and get that chain. You're better off just forgetting him." And I said, "No, I want to get that chain back." I'm looking for a cop to report. We're walking up and down 42nd Street. Evidently, they take the cops off the street after 12 at night.
Back then.
On 42nd,
Yeah.
in those days. Because we walked a mile or two, finally found a cop. And I told him my problem, and he says, "Well, would you recognize the guy?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess, I don't know." So he says, "Get in the car." So he and his partner put us in the squad car, and we kind of cruised around 42nd Street, talk about your proverbial needle in a haystack, looking to find that black face that I would remember and say, "That's the guy that got my chain." So the officer is pointing to this one, and he says, "What about this guy here? Is he the guy?" And he said, "Well, maybe, I'm not quite sure." He says, "Come on with me." And we get out of the car, and he drags me, and he comes up to the guy, he wants to do a search. And he takes this poor black kid, who wasn't even the guy. I didn't know it, but it wasn't the guy. And he throws him up against the wall, and it scared the crap
Because
out
of you.
me. Yeah. It was naturally with Jewish guilt. It was all my fault. And they really manhandled this guy. And it wasn't him, embarrassingly enough. So we start cruising again, looking for more guys for them to throw up against the wall. And now, bear in mind, these were my liberal days. I was a liberal. And I said to the guy, I said, "Officer, can I ask you a question? Would you be upset if I asked a question?" He said, "No. What do you want to know?" I said, I didn't even know that it was the guy from a distance, and you really roughed him up for no reason. Isn't that a little extreme reaction? This is the punchline of the story. The officer looks at me, he says, "Let me tell you something. You see out there?" And he points to this. It must have been 1,000, over 1,000 people out there. He said, "I have a gun, and that you would think that affords me some protection, but let me tell you something. If I try to use my gun or anything like that," he said, "there'd be a riot here.
Yeah.
And the only thing, they know that I'm overpowered. They have more power than I do out in the street.
Outnumbered.
Outnumbered, exactly." And he said, "The only thing that, I'll never forget this, the only thing that protects me is the intimidation factor. When I go in there, if I give them time to stop and think of it, hey, it's one little white cop, we can squash him like a bug. If I give them time to think like that, I'm going to be in big trouble. Intimidation is the main thing that keeps us alive out here. Now, this was a long time ago, 79. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 41 years ago.
I'll never forget that story. We never did get the necklace back. But
how'd the relationship turn
we
out?
emerged
Not well.
Like all my
She left you?
relationships.
She broke up. You know, the thing with this thing you're talking about in New York, though. You know, when I had the story on Friday's show, the lieutenant that took a knee with the protesters, with the officers the other day, he gave an interview. And he was embarrassed by it, and he said that they were so overwhelmed. He did it for the survival of the officers, that they were being so overwhelmed by the violent mob. They took a knee to save their lives.
That's a story that matches mine.
Yeah, and and he's probably going to lose his job because he told the truth.
Nobody thinks about that.
Well, the mayor's daughter's with Black Lives Matter. She was arrested at an event. That's Black Lives Matter is running the city, so the police are not only outnumbered, the mayor's not with them.
You don't really have to go much further than de Blasio to know
He's a
what's
mess.
wrong with New York.
And he was out at some protests without a mask over the weekend at times, and he called off a press conference because he's sick. So there's some speculation going on about him right now, about what he's sick with. Yeah.
All right, are we up on the break?
In a minute, we'll have the gold report. Just a second.
Okay, get ready for the gold report.
No commercials. We're just going to go right to it in just a second.
To it?
Well, I don't have him yet, Steve, either. Oh, actually, I do. Wow.
There we go.
Wow. Just like that. Just like that.
It is the moment you will wait for each day on the Steve Kane Show, the gold report, brought to you by William Youngerman of William Youngerman Inc. William, of course, one of the world's leading authorities on the precious metals, and we are blessed each day to have him at this time to tell us how things closed up yesterday and how things looked this morning at the opening. William, how are you? Excellent.
For
What?
several weeks now.
Turn your mic off. What? No recorded.
$1,750 resistant or support seems to come in at that $1,700.
I'm gonna have to hand write one. My printer was out of ink. I'm gonna have to write one.
Around $1,750. But overall, very good trading range and a very strong market that we've been.
Steve Kane Show.
And let's not forget Father's Day
No.
coming up and all the wonderful goodies you have up there that would make a great gift for Dad on his day.
As well as grandpas and husbands.
Exactly.
Yes. They're all fathers.
Tell us what you got up there. William, good talking to you. Drop by William Youngerman today, a good day. Stop in, located at 150 East Palmetto Park Road. That's the Bank America building. You'll find William on the first floor directly across the hallway from the bank. You can reach him by phone at 1-800-327-5010 or go to the website at williamyoungerman.com. William, good talking to you. We'll speak tomorrow. Alrighty.
You know, this thing about teaching kids about cops, and there's a big change. You know, when I started school here in South Florida in 8th grade, I went to New River Middle School, and I had this social studies teacher who was a old hippie. He had a ponytail. He was bald on top with a ponytail, very left-wing guy. And his name was Mr. Wirtz. I'm sure he's retired or
Any
down the.
Vic Wirtz?
Who's Vic Wertz?
Played for Detroit back in the 50s.
That's baseball?
Yeah.
A little bit. Well, Mr. Wertz, if he's probably a few rows down from you at the Gardens now, because he was pretty. But anyway, he was. I remember he showed us this. They used to show these films in school, kind of like what would you do, what should you do, and he showed us one on police officers one day, and it was amazing. And the way these films work is they stop. Then the teacher asks you questions, and then they show you the different scenarios. You remember these things? And we saw one on police, and everybody was white, because these movies were made like in the 60s and 70s. White guy, walking the street, white cops, right? And this guy, dressed like a hippie, is walking down the street. The cops roll up next to him. Hey, stop! He won't stop. He keeps walking. And then the cops stop the car, get out of the car, and he takes off running. This is in the film. And they stop the film. And then the teacher says, what would you guys do? He goes through everything, And then he said, I'll never forget this, he says, right now, those officers could take out their guns and shoot him. That would be a justifiable shooting, running from the police officers like this. Now, I'm not saying that is.
I don't think that's true.
No, but that's...
Anymore.
No, well, I don't even know if it was true then, but that's what we were taught. And they showed a bunch of different scenarios. One is if they shot and he was dead. One if he cooperated, and all these other things. But anyway, getting back to this, in school today, they don't teach civics. They don't teach citizenship skills. It's an
They don't teach anything.
They don't teach,
yeah, trust me.
Well, instead of getting vague about math and English, but they don't teach basic skills that young people need to know about dealing with police officers is a big one. That was drilled into us, the police. I mean, look, these police shows they canceled. They canceled Cops. Gone. It's gone. It may not even be running in syndication for a while, but no new episodes. Live PD. They canceled Paw Patrol, which is a cartoon about a dog. They don't want kids to see anything other than cops are Nazi stormtroopers, and that's devastating. That will get kids jammed up and in all kinds of trouble and escalate things in the future.
Well, where do you think that chip comes from?
The Democrat Party. It's not so much a racial thing. It's a Democrat tactic. Victimhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
That's what passes for their political philosophy.
Richie the bus driver.
Richie, how are you doing?
Oh, don't apologize for getting the show all excited. I was worried about you. I thought you were going to have a stroke. Well, I'll tell you about Richie, because Richie does, I rode, when I was a teenager, on multiple occasions, I rode Richie's bus. And I know a lot of people, well, how do you know? Because Richie is a big mouth, and he had a big mouth back then. And because I used to talk to people very loudly. But Richie did not need the PA system on the bus. But I took Richie's bus on multiple occasions, and I remember his big mouth. But Richie's also a big guy. And, when you ride the buses, you're driving the buses, it can be pretty scary in some parts of town. What kept you in good position on the bus and very bad areas is you're intimidating. You're a big guy with a big mouth, and people back down to that. You know what I mean? So, size, and we were talking earlier, this lady chief in Hollandale, I'd like to see her take the physical training course. In uniform with their gun belt on. I mean, come on. There's something to be said about being intimidating, and a big part of police work is that.
The next time they show, which I'm sure they will all day today, show that the Atlanta shooting.
Yeah.
Take a look at the guy. He's talking to them. They're talking very reasonably, and then the guy, as soon as they try to cuff him, he tenses up and he starts to make a breakaway, and you can see his arms. He's got a weightlifter's arms. I mean, he was no.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
No. Yes. That's not why he was killed. That's ridiculous. That's a lie.
Well, listen, one about this thing, okay, I don't want to relive, we did a whole show on that yesterday, but the CNN in Atlanta has twice been attacked. A couple weeks back, they attacked the CNN headquarters across from the park where the bomb went off, And then at the Wendy's Saturday night, where the protests were going on after this shooting, the CNN news crew was attacked, their camera was destroyed, and CNN, when you see CNN out, they have their logos on everything. So, if CNN, which is friendly to the left, is getting attacked by the community, can you imagine what it's like to be a cop? I mean, CNN's not getting villainized all the time among to this group of people. CNN's even being attacked.
Well, the interesting thing is, as we draw to the end of the show.
Thanks for calling, Richie. We're out of time.
The interesting thing about it is the question. Of course, everything goes. We kind of forgotten the election.
What's the question?
The question is, how is all this going to affect the vote in the November
Oh,
election?
Trump will be reelected even by a larger mass.
It depends.
No.
I mean, what I see is
Massive
the
victory.
average citizen quivering under the
48 states. 48 states.
Saying, "Oh my God, this is what they want me to vote for with Biden."
Yeah, anarchy.
Yeah,
anarchy.
We have to hope that's the reaction.
Well, listen.
On the other hand, maybe they're sitting there rooting the mob on. Who knows?
Well, listen, we're about out of time, but I just want to remind people, there has been an increase in coronavirus COVID-19 in South Florida. And any lab test now of Boca and any lab test now of Coral Springs are offering both coronavirus testing and the antibody testing, which shows if you've been exposed and have immunity. So even if you've been tested before, call any lab test now of Boca or Coral Springs. We're almost out of time, so I only have time for the Boca number. You can use this number for both. They're listed at stevekaneshow.com, 561-237-5009, 561-237-5009. That's it for us. We're out of time. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.
It's summertime, and that means backyard barbecue.
All right, guys, take care, all right? See you later.